This is the BroZilla podcast, episode 3. In this episode, we will be covering the 1962 King Kong vs. Godzilla and the 2021 release of Godzilla vs. Kong. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the BroZilla podcast, episode 3. Somehow we're still making these, but that's fine. You know, this last episode only has 5 views as of now, but I mean, I know you guys just want to wait till next week. I'm sure next week we'll get 1,000 views on it. My name is Chris. I'm from Son of Sibo, and I'm here with Will from CreationZilla.
Hey guys.
And Tyler, also known as Tyrant Godzilla.
Good to be back.
And today, we have a very interesting question. Actually, we don't have an interesting question. However, we do have Tyler, who is going to pitch us his kaiju movie idea. And I'm pretty excited.
Alright, well, hope Toho doesn't sue me. Trust me, you know how relentless the lawyers can be, but anyway, I've been, thinking about this concept for years, and what I got is a very interesting take on Godzilla versus Frankenstein.
Mm.
Oh, hey, I'm getting a disruption. Toho is interfering with the recording on a copyright.
God damn it!
Oh, Universal's in there too. They didn't like that Frankenstein mention. I didn't even know. I
He's
thought that was
public domain. God damn parasitic capitalist.
So you said you have an interesting take on it. So I take it that it's going to be a bit different than what Toho had in mind.
It's actually very different to what many people would have in mind. So Godzilla's main opponent in the film, he's technically human. I'm just, for a little bit of disclaimer, what I did, I took plot elements from different, unmade Toho films and decided, these are really good, and maybe we could utilize them in a very unique and different way. So the plot is pretty much that an astronaut returns after repairing a satellite, and he's infected with an alien virus called the Borubore virus. And he's terminally, pretty much the virus is assimilating him from within. And his daughter, she's actually a professional medical, professional doctor. I'm stumbling my words. I apologize. Anyway, she's a doctor.
I too am a professional medical.
Who works with G-Force, and she tries to do something that's very risky. She tries to apply the G cells to counter the virus, but it works well in the initial test. However, when actually applying it to her father, these G cells also get assimilated, and it mutates them.
Man, only if they would have expected this to happen. Nothing bad ever happens when you mix G cells with some sort of other DNA.
Of course, I mean, you might mix it with a rose and it'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it won't cause the most horrifying creature to be known by man to emerge. That's honest. Okay, not sure if you're quite finished, but I want to say the idea, like you said, the pitch for Godzilla vs. Frankenstein, and then we start off in space, and that already kind of caught me off guard. That is interesting.
Yep, I'm not done yet. So, after he mutates, he doesn't go on a rampage or anything. He's panicked, he's freaking out, he's scared, he doesn't know what's going on. And then he encounters Godzilla.
So when he mutates, is he already full, like, 50-meter scale?
He's about that size. Anyway, when he encounters Godzilla, he manages to actually wound him, but he gets his ass, he gets mutilated. And what happens is, on the part of the G-Force, there's a corrupt branch that takes his body and converts it into a cyborg weapon.
Huh.
And what they do is...
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Just to clarify, he got, basically... when he got mutilated, he's basically dead or dying, and then they turn him into a cyborg weapon from him.
Yeah. Yeah. And turns out this branch of G-Force has been kidnapping kaiju, capturing kaiju and been using them as guinea pigs. And they plan to sell them as bioweapons to the highest bidder. And this creature, their own Frankenstein, if you will be their magnum opus. And throughout this whole ordeal, going after between Godzilla being experimented on by the scientist, he completely loses his mind. He's blinded by hatred over everything. And he gains certain abilities as he's being experimented on, like mechanical weapons. And surprisingly, this is for a cool setup. He also gets telepathy.
Ooh.
Of course, he escapes and he takes on Godzilla. But what I'm thinking of is having it be a handicap match. Godzilla and a few other monsters against this overpowered cyborg creature that's made with his own DNA and the most advanced technology in the planet.
This kind of sounds, and maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like this kind of sounds like it's obviously you're taking inspirations from some of these other lost films or films they didn't make, but it also kind of reminds me of a Broly film where he starts off weak and he keeps escalating until he's overpowered.
Well, actually, Broly was kind of an influence, but the bigger influences I had were Hulk, Nemesis from Resident Evil. One of them actually was the monster M from the Godzilla vs. M.
I certainly would like to see what this thing would look like, the design.
I actually made some concept art for it a while back. Yeah.
Whoa.
Hold on, let me find it. I'll send it to you over Messenger when I have the time.
Okay.
Anyway, Godzilla's not alone during this whole ordeal. The other monsters that appear will be Kong, because of course. I mean, Godzilla versus Frankenstein with scraps, but there's also King Kong versus Frankenstein, so I want to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Kong's involvement in the plot is he's one of the monsters that have been taken by the research facility and experimented on.
Interesting. So, I think you got you certainly, honestly, this sounds like the tone here, it sounds like somewhere in between a Showa film and a Heisei film. It's kind of interesting because I feel like, I don't know, because at first I was kind of picturing it as a Showa film by how you were describing it, but then as you kind of went on, it gave me some Godzilla versus Biollante vibes, obviously with the experimenting and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of going for. The main idea I had for this project was that humanity, how they're being how even with the greatest intentions they can be corrupted, and technically we make our own monsters, and that's what happened with Godzilla. And I thought, what if that happened to a human? What happened to Godzilla happened to a normal man?
Yeah, that's definitely a really neat angle, and that's honestly something I feel like Toho would have eventually gotten around to had the latter Showa era been a little more successful.
Right.
So what I'm gonna say is this is unofficial, but if you get me some concept art with it, I might fiddle around with it because I feel like that could be a cool little project for me to, if you would want to work on like a short comic form version of that. I feel like that's something that wouldn't be too difficult to bring to life in that form. But I say, we'd have to experiment with it. I'm not sure what you would think about that.
Yeah, we definitely had to work out the kinks. I'm sending it to the chat right now, the concept art for my version of Frankenstein. It's very out there. I still want to keep the monster-esque feel, like you feel like it's a mashup of different parts.
I like that. I like how it's still, because I was kind of imagining it still, like it's humanoid, but it has enough mass that it does feel like a monster.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that.
Should we put this on?
Put on.
Will, do you think you could put this during this point of the podcast? Put this image up on the.
Yeah. If we remind myself to do that, because I realized I did not put the audio or the disclaimer in the last episode with all the corruption I had with the files.
Oh dang!
That sucks.
Be fine. You know what? They came into a video of Godzilla vs. Kong in the title. They knew what was happening.
Yeah.
Well, and we gave a warning anyways. I just didn't put an actual time card on there.
Speaking of, there's no spoilers here on this episode, but we might discuss things that happened in the trailers at some point. Okay, so if you consider anything that was seen in the trailers spoiler, 1, you're wrong. 2, Mechagodzilla's in the movie.
Bastard.
Man, I'm such an asshole.
Takes one, no one.
Yep. So.
Well, by the time this episode comes out, hopefully everybody will have already seen the film.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, this episode will probably be coming out after Godzilla vs. Kong has aired, and this episode will be a 2-parter. I should go ahead and get that out the way and let people know. This beginning part is being recorded on March 30th, the day before Godzilla vs. Kong. In this episode, we will be discussing the original 1962 King Kong vs. Godzilla film. And then there will be a break, and the second half will be recorded after we've all seen the new Godzilla vs. Kong film, so we can compare and contrast. So this episode will probably be a bit extra long.
Hooray!
But hopefully you're there to enjoy the ride. So we went ahead and opened this up on the note of discussing Tyler's kaiju idea. That is actually his kaiju film idea. That is actually an episode idea we had, so we'll probably save it a little bit more. But down the line, I think we were talking about maybe having an episode where we all have it just dedicated, where we all kind of come up with our own Godzilla film ideas, and then put them together, or not put them together, but tell them separately.
Oh, now you tell me.
Yeah, well,
I'm kidding.
I know you have a lot of them, so that's the only reason I said you could go ahead and say this one. Because I'm sure you have plenty of them. You've described a couple of them before. So, for me, I would actually have to actively think and come up with something.
I'll have to see if I can find my composition notebook from middle school. So, any of my middle school friends who are listening to this and recall this, you guys may recognize the name Godzilla vs. Cyber G. It was like a 50-page book I wrote, and it was a sequel to Godzilla Tokyo SOS.
I think I've heard that somewhere.
I guess you could. Would y'all count Kuryu Revengeance as a Godzilla film idea, or is that different? Because even though Godzilla would be in it, he wouldn't be the main character.
I mean, it happened with his own films, so I guess.
Yeah,
it would be a Toho film, or a Toho fan film, or.
Yeah, for y'all at home, it's not official yet, but I might be working on a little fan project that will be having Kuryu as the lead and the focus on character. But either way, I'm not going to get into that just in case I actually make it. If I
the Mechagodzilla one, not the Yakuza one.
Yeah, no, it'll be Kuryu, operating Kuryu.
Oh, okay, I see.
That would actually be so cool.
And he has to fight a giant Majima. Killed you, Chan.
Can you imagine? Man, I don't even want to. I can't even imagine. I'm just having sensory overload. Imagining what those scenes would be like. That being said, I think we should go ahead and get into our film discussion. The film we are discussing is King Kong vs. Godzilla from the year 1962. A monumental clash like the world has never seen. The two biggest titans to ever grace the silver screen. Actually, silver screen means TV, but you know what I'm saying. At the time, so first I want to get into a little bit of the history. I'm sure y'all guys know, but I find this very interesting. Willis O'Brien did the stop motion and was a big contributor in the creation of King Kong as a character. And around the late 1950s and early 1960s, he was looking to make a film. Does anyone recall what that film was going to be?
War Eagles.
Close. It was.
I know.
Was it Kong versus Prometheus?
That actually. So we're about to get there. King Kong versus Frankenstein was the original idea, and Frankenstein was going to create a monster that would battle King Kong. Of course, the film would be done in stop motion, but at the time, no one was taking Willis O'Brien seriously. Part of the history on that is when he was offered the Oscar for the special effects in King Kong, he said he didn't want to take the Oscar unless they made an Oscar for everybody in his staff. And of course, they're not going to do that, so they kind of ostracized him and they discriminated against him and stopped taking his ideas seriously after that. So he was kind of blacklisted, despite having so many, being. He was the mentor to Ray Harryhausen, the father of stop motion, if you will.
Yeah.
The granddaddy of stop motion, if you will.
He was not finding enough, work of what he wanted. We're not going to get into it, but he actually had a horrible personal life with several kids passing away, I believe, at a young age and all that. We're not going to get into that. But essentially, he was looking for all this, and like you Will mentioned, it evolved into the idea of King Kong versus Prometheus. And, there's a little meme going around, but it's kind of true. Just think that in an alternate reality, we're all hyped up for the rematch of King Kong versus Prometheus coming out right now.
Actually,
What's up?
Oh, sorry, I might be jumping ahead a little bit. I'll let you finish the Willis O'Brien stuff before we get to the Godzilla stuff.
Okay. So
I still would like to see Prometheus get some sort of, adaptation at some point.
Yeah,
I think it was a cool character concept.
Yeah, what I saw with the little concept art was pretty cool. But so this is where the story gets even more messed up and more sad, if you will. Willis O'Brien took his idea to someone named John Beck, and John Beck was looking out, talking to studios, trying to figure out someone to make the film, and he said he would get back to him when he could. John Beck went to a lot of American studios, and none of them wanted to take an idea like that. So then he went overseas, and behind Willis O'Brien's back, he made the deal with Toho, giving them the rights to use King Kong in a King Kong vs. Godzilla movie. Because really, Toho, as we know, AJ Tsuburaya was a huge King Kong fan, and a lot of the people who did the special effects with him were all fans of King Kong as well. They were inspired and big fans of King Kong. So when they got the rights to make their own King Kong film, they didn't really care much for the King Kong versus Frankenstein idea. However, they would later make Frankenstein Conquers the World, which is basically which came from Frankenstein versus King Kong, which turned into Frankenstein versus Godzilla, which I actually found out. I think that movie. I call it Frankenstein Conquers the World, but the actual Japanese name is Frankenstein versus Baragon. If someone wants to fact check that on me, but I was hearing that. Either way, that idea did happen later, but what initially came out of it was they wanted to pit their big monster against King Kong, and that got us the film we got today. And by the way, Willis O'Brien never found out about this until after King Kong vs. Godzilla had came out.
Ooh.
That's gotta hurt. That's your monster.
You know, I like to imagine an alternate timeline where O'Brien not only agreed, Toad not only agreed to let Brian do the movie his way, but Brian also agreed to let Godzilla in the film. So, in a perfect timeline, we'd have King Kong versus Frankenstein versus Godzilla.
I would like to see, that's interesting as well. But what I would really like to see is like a Willis O'Brien or a Ray Harryhausen do Godzilla in stop motion. I would like to see because I mean, I have respect for Suitmation, but some of the stop motion they had at the time was very, very cool. And I would
incredibly
like to see a
impressive
Godzilla film like that. Yeah, and I mean, besides a few, like most of the Showa Godzilla films, I would say the stop motion has a cooler effect, or almost you could say is more convincing than most of the Suitmation at the time. I will say the one thing that AJ Tsuburaya was really known for was the miniatures. The miniature details on those was a big deal, and his explosion effects and stuff. But a little fun fact about Godzilla 1954 is AJ Tsuburaya did not admit that there was a man in the suit. He didn't admit how he made the kaiju because he was so embarrassed that it was a guy in a rubber suit that he waited 10 years before he told anyone how he did those effects.
Really?
Yeah.
It sounds like
all credit to Big Action Bill on YouTube for giving some of this history lessons. Go watch his history of these films.
I find that hilarious, to be honest. In a way, O'Brien himself kept a lot of how he made King Kong a secret as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So that I wanted to go over that because I found that was interesting. That's all the troubled and sad past that went into this film. That being said, the film we got is a big juxtaposition, a big tone difference from what we just talked about. I believe I have only seen the English version, the English dub added in scenes for King Kong vs. Godzilla. I know, Will, you happen to get the Criterion collection and watch the Japanese version for the first time today.
Yep, I watched that right before we started recording.
And then Tyler, which one did you get to watch, or which one have you watched?
I've only watched the American version, but trust me, I know the differences just by looking at it.
Yeah, what I'll say is I had a brief synopsis of some of the scenes that were cut out in the from the Japanese version, and it makes so much sense looking back because there's a lot of scenes that are kind of jarring in the American version. They cut out the entire introduction of the Taco is his name, the director guy. I heard that his introduction. I'm gonna describe what I remember. Tell me how accurate this is. But essentially, you have him tearing into all of his underlings, or all the people who work for him, telling them they're doing a bad job, and then immediately he gets a phone call from his boss who does the same thing to him. And it's a really funny introduction to that character. It kind of gives you an idea of who he is. And they took that completely out of the American version. The Japanese version had a lot more satire, as far as I remember, from being, again, this is all secondhand experiences. I'll let you tell what you experienced actually watching it, but I know that the English version, just like with a lot of these, the English dub watered down a lot of the themes of the. I say that it watered down because some of those themes are still present, just to a lesser extent.
Mm.
Would you like to describe your experience watching it this way for the first time?
Yeah, really, what I could say right off the bat is it feels like a Godzilla film I've never watched before. Even with it being the reused footage. It was so different from the American adaptation. Really having the introduction into Tako's character is really what sets the film up for the way it goes, and I don't feel like it embraces the kind of campier aspects that the English dub did. And there's a lot of humor in this, but it doesn't feel like forced or fake humor. Like, instead of just making fun of something that's happening on screen, it's all humor that is between the characters. So, like, there's at one point to where they're talking about bringing Kong back, and Taco's like, "Yeah, I bet I can get Kong to smile, and we'll put a campaign out for my drug company. It'll be, I'll pulverize Godzilla because I took Pacific Coast drugs," or something like that. And I was like, that's super funny.
Yeah. But you're telling me that comedy's better than the great moment where the character says, "My corns hurt." Oh, you and your corns. You're telling me that's not great comedy?
Why do I feel like that guy's related to Corn Job from Gamera versus Guiron?
I'm not. I can't say. It probably is. Yeah, but I did hear that the satire and the comedy made more sense and was less like when I watch. So what I'll tell you off the bat, King Kong versus Godzilla, 1962. The English version is the only one I've seen. Any day of the week, I could sit down and put that movie on and have a good time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Japanese dub was fantastic, but I still have an appreciation for the English adaptation for it.
Yeah, really, the biggest thing I would want out of the English version is all these scenes of like, we have a tsunami in here. This is the UN meeting, and then they have like the satellite, and it's like, and then
that satellite was.
Brain.
Oh, sorry.
And this is Kong's brain.
Roughly 3 times the size of the squirrel's skull. I found out that the stock footage of that satellite was actually from the Mysterians.
I actually did hear that as well. That's kind of interesting. They put in the American stock footage, the American version of a Japanese movie. They use Japanese footage. They added Japanese stock footage. Have
Makes
y'all
sense
watched
to me.
Brandon Tenold's King Kong vs. Godzilla reviews yet? Or his?
I have.
I've seen part 1. I don't think I've seen part 2 yet.
I appreciate Brandon Tenold.
Yeah.
Brandon, come on the podcast. I know you're listening. I know you've been listening since day one. Let's go ahead. Come on. Honestly, legit, I would love to have that guy on here.
That would be amazing.
The pinnacle of dry humor.
He is Canadian.
My favorite line is where he's like, it was the Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and the girl has the prophecy that a monster will attack a city. And he's like, "Yeah, no shit. It's you're a Godzilla movie. You could have just said the sun was gonna rise tomorrow." Yeah, he's a neat guy. He should come on here. Speaking of, I haven't told y'all all the details yet, but the guest I've been talking about, pretty sure we might be able to have him on next week.
Nice.
So if that's the case, next week will probably be our first break from movie coverage, which would be a fitting time. But we'll see. However, I still have to get all the things. He's actually Pacific Standard Time, so we got to get the times lined up, but he said he should be available. And it'll be an interesting one.
Yeah.
The little mystery man we're talking about. I actually have worked with him in the past, probably 6 years ago, before he became pretty big, where he's well into the 5 digits in subscribers now. So,
Monster Island buddies.
you know, that would be a good one too. Honestly, there's a lot of people, and I feel like I've noticed is that the Godzilla community is pretty humble for the most part. So I feel like there's a lot of people we could actually get on there. The only one I want to get on that I feel like is going to be hard is going to be Rob from ETN, and the reason is that he has a family and like he streams a lot. Maybe he'll not be streaming as much after Godzilla vs. Kong, but he basically streams every night. Like, he's streaming right now. He is going to be streaming till 2:30 in the morning. And
so he's waiting for it to drop.
Yeah, and then he said he's going to get off and then he's going to watch the movie after, you know, because it comes out at 3 a.m. on HBO. Which, honestly, that's tempting because I have HBO Max and I would really want to watch it. But I will be seeing it tomorrow at 7:30 in IMAX, so I'm definitely going to wait to have that experience in the theater.
Yeah, I'll be watching HBO Max right around 5-ish, and then I've got a showing at the theater for 10. And, you know, I could wait until the 10 showing to go watch it, but I've watched all the other MonsterVerse films for the first time with my parents, and I want to keep that trend going. So I'm going to watch it with them first, and then I'll go see it in the theater.
I'm probably going to do the reverse of that. Like,
yeah, I feel like that's what most people are doing. You know, I would prefer to have it theatrical first, but, you know, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
This will be my first IMAX movie, so I'm really excited. And
I think I got IMAX tickets.
I'll be going with someone else I know who's just as big, if not a bigger Godzilla fan than I am. Speaking of, he has a smaller YouTube channel, like 300 subs, and he's doing some work on there. It's mostly like vlog stuff, but actually, I'll send it to you guys after the podcast. He did a little Godzilla 1998 review, probably 5 months ago, and it was pretty funny. But he's someone that is in my National Guard unit, and we'll be seeing it tomorrow. But I actually was talking to him about at some point maybe having him on here, just because I think that would be pretty cool. So, yeah, that's a little. I'm not naming names until we get anything official. That's why I'm being vague. It's not that. Just trying to make sure I'm not putting anything out there or making false promises about the deal signed and done.
Right.
However, I'm trying to think. Let's see. We still have now. I obviously. The hype for Godzilla vs. Kong is pretty big, but we still have a little bit more we can discuss about King Kong vs. Godzilla. One thing I want to bring up that's pretty interesting, I never know. I mean, I noticed it, but I feel like it might be more apparent in the Japanese version. But you let me know, Will, what
sure.
Your experience was. But the monsters in this film, and it kind of happens a lot later in the Showa series, but this is the first film especially where the monsters are pitted as like pro wrestlers. It's like people are taking sides. Like, you know, oh, I want King Kong. Let's go, King Kong. Beat him up. And then, you know, you see their personalities come out for the first time, and
yeah,
it's more of like a SmackDown World Heavyweight match than a two monsters. Like in the last movie, in Godzilla Raids Again, it was two monsters viciously brawling, and this is like, you know, like they're King Kong sneaking up to grab Godzilla's tail, and Godzilla's laughing at Kong after he smashes his head into the rock. Like,
yeah, Raids Again was the National Geographic kaiju, and then King Kong versus Godzilla was the you know, Saturday night pay-per-view.
And I love it for it. It's such an entertaining movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. And they even mentioned that in the Japanese dub, right when they, you know, Godzilla and Kong are fighting, and he's like, "Oh, who's stronger, Godzilla or Kong?" And they're like, "Who cares? It's not a wrestling match."
Yeah, I think that's something I had heard, was a purposeful theme added in the film. Which I believe Ishiro Honda. This is something we don't talk about a lot. Ishiro Honda directed the original film, and he directed quite a bit of the Showa films. He, from what I know, liked a lot more to work on more serious films like the first one, but he happened to get attached to some of these Godzilla films, and he wasn't always the biggest fan of the cartoonish way he was going. Like, I heard that he was not a big fan of making this film. However, even through the English version, I can see, some of his directing coming through, and I assume in the Japanese version it's even more clear that the themes they're trying to get off, which is a satire of the TV industry at the time.
Yeah.
And, obviously the pro wrestling aspect is only part of that. But I had watched, like I said, I'd watched the video by Bill Action Bill that kind of went into detail. But essentially, this was the era where they were just trying, the whole reason they're trying to get King Kong is ridiculous even for the time. It's, I need a mascot for my TV show or my pharmaceutical company, so I'm going to go get a giant monkey off Faroe Island. Which is, do y'all know why it was Faroe Island and not Skull Island?
Maybe copyright issues with Universe, not RKO. I'm not sure if RKO was still around during that time, though.
I know they had the official rights for King Kong, so I don't think they would... so what I heard is Universal had acquired those rights, and that's how John Beck was able to sell the rights to them. Have y'all seen King Kong Escapes?
I have.
Yes.
I own it.
I've not. So that's one I might watch sometime soon as a little bonus project. We could do an episode on it, but I could just watch it and have a brief discussion on it. But I know that King Kong Escapes actually was directed by Ishiro Honda because at the time they were making Son of Godzilla, and Son of Godzilla was a project Honda wanted nothing to do with. He hated the idea of, going more kid-friendly, so they gave him King Kong Escapes to work on the side.
Even though that movie in itself was rather goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not sure what it was. I do think, I've seen Brandon Tenold's video on King Kong Escape, so I know the general idea. But
I think it was a little goofier, but that was also because it was a split production between Toho and the King Kong cartoon.
yeah, so he was based off of it was based off of a King Kong cartoon. So they kept the same so it's a different continuity than King Kong versus Godzilla, which is kind of... Yeah,
they're smaller, actually, too.
It's weird because they still technically own the rights of Mechanicon, even though it was originating from the Rick and Bass cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, Rick and Bass, the creators of Rudolph, the Rudolph anime short, they technically should own Mechanicon. Okay, who wants to see Mechanicon fight the Yeti?
Ooh.
I want Mechanicon versus the Wolfman. That sounds like a movie. I'd like to see Godzilla fight Mechanicon. I don't know why. It would be such a weird movie to watch, but
It almost happened.
It did almost happen.
I did not know that.
Yeah, pretty much, the final battle would take place on the San Andreas Fault, and there would have been a third monster called Archaeopteryx.
Wow.
Yep.
And then at the end, Bacon comes out. Okay, so
in the dub, do they go to Faroe Island because they already know Kong is there?
They heard rumors.
Okay. Because in the Japanese version, they go there because there's the evil mammoth beast spirit rumors, but that's also where the fruits came from. So that's kind of why they go, and then they just happen to find Kong.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about that one scene with the little radio and the cigarettes and?
Yikes! I know it was back in the '60s, But seeing all that blackface is just. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, so
he's like, don't let a cop catch your kid, and he gives the kid 2 cigarettes.
Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna try to word this right to where I don't get canceled here. I'm not in support of blackface. However, I never noticed that when I was younger, and now that I see it, what I'll say is, it doesn't. I definitely don't see it being done in a way of, what would you call it? It's not in a way of mockery or a way of
Right.
You know, it's kind of the only way I think they knew how to portray that. They didn't have native actors to play that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I am pretty forgiving of that, personally. However,
it's like
the
it's
whole
not that.
cigarette scene and stuff is pretty interesting.
Yeah. We gotta get candy.
Yeah, he's like, oh, we didn't bring any gumdrops.
Man, what was it? What am I thinking of? No, so I don't know about if this happens in the Japanese version, but the main, or I guess you would call him the main lead, the guy, one of the guys that goes to the island, the main guy that I guess you'd call him the main character. We'll say that because it's kind of iffy. Because whatever it was about Japanese films, watching these Godzilla films, is they might have a main character, but Japanese films have a lot larger casts. And I think their writing style is different, where I think they worry less about characterizing each character and more about progressing the plot through multiple characters. And
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Either way, so what I'm saying is he's basically the main character, but not really.
By default.
Yeah, he's the main character by default because he probably gets the most screen time. However, he doesn't believe that something like King Kong could exist in a world where Godzilla has destroyed Tokyo twice, and because this is in the timeline. Godzilla comes out of the iceberg. Now, if we want to go even crazier, okay, as dumb as it is, this guy doesn't believe giant monsters exist when it's clear they do. We're gonna go even crazier here. In the English dub, if you remember. What happened? The English dub contradicts itself so many times with this, but you have the 2 Japanese guys in the pilot or in the helicopter, and they see Godzilla come out of the ice, and you're like, "Oh no, Godzilla!" And then it cuts to the English actor, and he's like, "The world is shocked to discover that prehistoric creatures exist." And it's like, no, they just said you not remember the last 2 movies? They just said Godzilla. They know who it is. You're acting like we just discovered this thing.
I mean, even the 2 prior Godzilla movies aside, you still have Rodan, Fear and the Unbelievable, The Mysterians, and I believe Mothra was a year prior, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, 61.
The Showa timeline is a bit iffy, but we can 100% be sure that this takes place right after Raids Again because he comes out of the ice that he was in.
So no, they don't mention anything like that in the Japanese version. They freak out when Godzilla comes out because they're like, Godzilla's returned, he's back again. And then that makes Taco real mad. He's like, oh great, now everybody's Godzilla this, Godzilla that, Godzilla this, and he's getting real angry. And then they mention how like, oh, Godzilla's back, yeah, we can go down and get the Godzilla special at the restaurant, and I even hear that they're making a Godzilla film now. They say that in the movie, so I was like, oh, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's more along that theme of like monetizing like tragedy and just like, it doesn't matter as long as the business as long as the everything keeps humming along. But
back on
Senator Armstrong, the president at the time.
Back to Godzilla. The design here is definitely more Saurian than the original.
They took off the ears, so the ears on the original Godzilla design were meant to distinguish him that he is not just a dinosaur, but he is a monster. He's a strange creature, and
he's a dinosaur cat girl.
And that's kind of why if y'all notice, the Heisei film brought them back when they rebooted it, and that was part of the reasoning, was to bring it back to its roots of a monster and less of just a dinosaur. Which obviously, I still think Godzilla doesn't look like a dinosaur. In fact, I always equated this version of Godzilla. For some reason in my head, he feels more crocodilian.
Yeah. One thing I noticed about with Godzilla, like whenever he's fighting King Kong, he would flap his arms. But the weird thing is, there's this clanking sound.
The clicking.
Every time.
Okay, so that was in the dub too.
Yeah, like why does that happen? It's like it's a clanking sound. Like, is he trying to clap? But
I don't know if maybe it's
reach?
his claws clapping together, and maybe that's the noise, or I don't know. It was bizarre. Or is he just like dislocating his arms?
His so he's been in that ice for that long. He hasn't really gotten the stretch. So like he's all tight. You know? So he's trying to move his arms. His joints are popping everywhere.
Well, speaking of suits, the King Kong suit just
the greatest King Kong design by far. Like Kong Skull Island was okay, and like, but I mean, how can it compare to this beautiful suit? Where in one scene he has arm extensions that make his arms go down to his knees, and then they cut to the next scene so the actor can actually fight, and you're like, wait, why are his arms shorter? Y'all notice that? They have two different suits.
There's two suits.
Yep. But
that is so
the puppet, like the close-ups with the puppet, it's like they give it him like a duck beak bill or something. Like it's so elongated compared to the real suit. It's so jarring. It's like a Muppet.
Yeah, the close up of the puppet looks like the Rudolph snowman.
No. It looks like Homer Simpson. Can you see it? Like the jawline.
I kind of see that. Yeah, I'll say if we're gonna being real here, this is probably one of the best. If not the best show with Godzilla suit, it's up there for me.
I really like this suit.
It's pretty cool.
This is certainly the worst official licensed King Kong suit. Because I mean, you got a few knockoffs there that make this one look good, but
yeah, they definitely improve his design, and not by much, but they improve it some in King Kong Escapes.
Oh, so here's something else I was thinking of while we were talking about the theme of like the people like not taking Godzilla very seriously and the whole like television theme. One thing is, did you notice that like I never thought about this, but this is the first time like where the kid tugs his mom and says, "Hey, can we go see Godzilla?"
Yeah,
he's not scared of him. He's like, "I want to," and this is kind of like almost leans into how the rest of the Showa era would be targeted more towards children.
And she's like, "No, it's not a zoo."
It's like, maybe, here's the thing, with everything that's went on after raids again, Rodan, Baron, Mothra, I think the reason why these people are so blasé about everything is because they're desensitized. They encounter giant monsters so much, it's just another natural disaster for them.
Yeah, so what I would say is that is a very valid in-universe explanation. I do think the reason it is there writing-wise is to express the themes that we've discussed. It's more of a satire of the state of Japan's media at that time, and some of that gets watered down through the English dub. Which I say dub in quotations because obviously it's kind of like the Godzilla King of the Monsters treatment. Let's take out some of the scenes and add in some more American scenes. And I will
so there are some American scenes in the sub. The sub, literally, during the submarine scene. And
check that temperature.
It's all in English. So they have little subtitles that appear on the side of the screen in Japanese when they're speaking, and it is some stale acting, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Did y'all notice that we got the return of... I forgot the actor's name. I'm going to look it up real quick. But Dr. Serizawa returns.
Yeah, I did not notice that ever before. And then, with just recently watching 54, I was like, oh my gosh, that's him.
Akihiko Harada.
The oxygen destroyer healed his eye.
It's a miracle.
And so he's playing... Is he playing a prime minister, I think it is? Or
something like that. He doesn't have a super long role in the film.
Yeah, he just walks from the building to his car. And in all I remember is the English dub. He says, "Do not panic. The Japan's doing everything it possibly can." Like he's like Barack Obama talking. We got everything under control. And then he says, "But if we cannot defeat Godzilla soon, Japan will most certainly be destroyed." And that's like, wait, so you said not the Panic, but then you said not... my fellow Japanese Godzilla will kill us all.
No, if I can change the subject a little bit, can I talk about the music real quick?
You don't like my Barack Obama impression?
No, it's wonderful, it's wonderful.
Oh, the music. So, in the English version, they take out a lot of Afukabe scores and give it this universal themes that I do not know how they work. I think they do fine enough for me, but I don't know what it's like to actually have the full Afukabe score, and I feel like it would probably be better.
The music they took from the other films were from The Wolfman and The Creature from the Black Lagoon. The Black Lagoon theme is actually really noticeable after you've seen the original Black Lagoon, because they constantly use that sting in that film, and when you sing King Kong vs. Godzilla, you're like, there it is.
Will, did you notice your experience being better or worse with the Afukabe score, or did you even?
The music was fantastic. No, I definitely noticed it because I think this is the first time they used one of my favorite Godzilla themes. I'm trying to think of how it goes. I just had it. It's like the dun 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 bum 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 bum. Yeah, that one.
It was
the only thing I noticed is they use it.
March.
Yeah, they use it like 9 times in the movie. Like Godzilla will appear and it'll be like the bam, 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 and then it'll switch scenes and then it'll go back to Godzilla and it'll start over, be like bam, bam, bam. I was like, hey, I get it. Let's can we keep the music going for more than 10 seconds? So that was a little annoying, but
it's like when you like overplay a theme because it's so good.
Yeah.
What I found out is the Japanese Defense Force theme from the original film and Godzilla's March from this were combined later to become Godzilla's theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I never would. It's interesting to see how the music evolves. But you like, bum. I know what you're talking about. It's like bum 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 bum. It's kind of like a mix. Like, it's weird because it reminds. I get it mixed up in my head with the Japanese Defense Force theme.
Yeah.
But that
because I feel like there's 2 staple Godzilla themes.
Okay, so if I keep changing what I'm saying, but I think essentially what I heard, and I'd have to look this up. We'll do some more fact checking here, eventually. But the Godzilla's March kind of becomes a prelude to the theme. To the Japanese Defense Force theme.
Yeah.
So it plays the, like the bum 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 bum, and then it'll turn into the bum 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 bum, and go. I again, they both are used quite a bit in later Showa eras, and even a bit in the Heisei and towards the end of the Heisei era and some of the Millennium films, but. Actually, do they use any of Afukabe themes in the Millennium films? I actually don't remember that.
They
do in Godzilla 2000.
Yeah.
Okay. I do know that a couple of the Heisei films were actually completely scored by Afukabe, which I didn't previously know until recently.
Yeah, I really love the Heisei music. I mean, I love all the music for all the periods, but I think they'll have really good scores for the most part. The only thing, I think the middle of the Showa, I probably could not point out a specific theme from the middle of the Showa era, but any other film I could definitely pick up a theme.
Speaking of, go ahead.
So the Godzilla vs. Hedorah soundtrack, I have not watched that one, but I've heard that one's pretty underwhelming, and it's also just tonally off. And the Godzilla theme they use, the only scene I've seen where they use it, but in that film. Godzilla's theme is the like the whole Hedorah flying scene. That's his effect.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the ba 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 ba.
So I don't know what fan opinion of that is, but a guy I was watching on YouTube was expressing how much he hated that, and he was happy when the films went back to the Afukabe. So you could call that it. You could arguably call that a low point in the music for the Godzilla franchise, but for the most part, it's mostly a consistent quality. Because the guy who did Godzilla Raids Again, he did a few of the later Showa films. He did, I think he did Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, which has that one theme that sounds like almost like a mission or not. What would you call it?
James Bond.
James Bond theme. And I mean, it's not a fukabe, but it's it fits the movie and it sounds cool. Either way, that's a little side note. I'm trying to drop some of this trivia I've learned recently.
Also,
make some use of it.
Oh,
You
also,
go ahead, Tyler.
sorry. Also, the King Kong theme in this movie is just sublime.
Is that the one you're talking about? Where they're like the
Yeah.
The chanting.
Well, it sounds very similar to Mothra's theme too.
Kinda.
Because Mothra, Mahala, Masura. I kept feeling like they were getting ready to build into that. I was like, all right, where's the bug swatter?
Like, interesting fact, they actually reused this theme in the Space Amoeba.
Really?
Yeah, it's a scene where they're partying on an island and they just start playing out of nowhere. I'm like, wait, is King Kong gonna fight Godzilla?
There's a brief theme in this film, at least the Japanese version, and I think it's what eventually becomes in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. There's a theme called Get King Ghidorah or Chase King Ghidorah, and it's when the jets are fighting him. And it's one of the more unique pieces. I couldn't point it out right now, but I mean, that's all I listened to growing up. I had the Godzilla greatest hits from the Showa era and the Heisei era, and that's all I listened to on my little MP3 player on the bus back and forth from school.
So, fun fact. I know I'm dropping a lot of fun facts here, but this one actually, it ties into how the American version became the way it was. Originally, there was going to be a full, like the American version was going to basically redo a big chunk of the film, like almost unrecognizable, and Toho was fine with that, and Toho made a couple suits for it. Actually, you know what? I'm getting my trivia wrong. What I'm referring to is actually something from Godzilla
Raids Again.
Yeah. They sent the suits across the sea, and then that company went bankrupt, and so they ended up just turning it into a gigantic fire monster. Either way, I was wrong about that. I apologize. I should have said that last episode. Forget that. I will say that I have not seen the Japanese version yet. This film as a whole of me is kind of beyond ratings, but I'll say as an objective film, I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. It's a okay film. It's not the worst thing ever, and it has some fun scenes. But as a Godzilla fan, I can watch this film any day of the week and be entertained. So it's kind of that. There's not much more praise I can give it than that.
I really enjoyed this movie. It's a silly film. The only thing that's missing from it is an episode based around it of Mystery Science Theater 3000 because it begs to be riffed on.
That's true. You know what? We should do it. We should make our own Mystery Science Theater of this. Or this
Okay,
film.
if we're going to riff a movie, we'll do that, and we need to do zombies.
Yeah. You know what this movie is really missing is Anguinus. He should have returned. Imagine if they had opened the film and King Kong killed Anguirus.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, he sure takes his time to show up. At least in the Japanese version, he
ever won a fight.
He beat Destroyer. I'm not kidding. He beat the comics.
Oh, he in Godzilla Wars of the Earth or that timeline or whatever.
Godzilla Legends.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever beaten anybody on screen. I mean, he did a number on... Well, actually, I don't want to say too much of that because you've not seen that film. Never mind, Chris.
Anguirus beating Destroyer is such a big win.
I mean, they did freeze him before he delivered Final Blow, but still counts.
Oh. I mean, the fact that he was fighting Destroyer and he didn't die or get obliterated is kind of impressive enough. To be fair, Anguirus... people say Anguirus gets his butt whooped, but in Godzilla Raids Again, he fought pretty even. every film I've seen with him, he always fights pretty even. He just loses, and so people are like, Anguirus sucks, and it's like, no, he fought evenly with Godzilla.
Yeah.
For the most part, he got beat in the end. He fought pretty well with Mechagodzilla disguised as Godzilla, which, by the way, in that film, Mechagodzilla whooped King Caesar and Godzilla. So
yeah,
I mean, Anguirus is like a solid like B tier kaiju in the power scaling, if you want to say. He keeps picking fights with like Gigan and King Ghidorah and guys that are like extremely powerful.
Nah, he's at least Krillin tier.
Yeah, Krillin is very powerful. Okay.
Yeah, Kong kind of is very unimpressive in this movie for the most part. Like,
Yeah.
they first meet up, and he like gets shocked when Godzilla blows up the helicopter. He's like, what's the first thing I'm gonna do? I'm gonna chuck a rock at this guy.
I threw a rock at him.
He misses the first shot.
No,
It was
that was the Brandon Tennant thing. He threw the rock, and he's like, and he just hits Godzilla's feet, and he's like, "What are you throwing at?"
And then, like, so both Kong and Anguirus are pretty much unaffected by the atomic breath. For the most part, the very first time Kong, like, kind of taps his belly a little bit.
no. It's
And then Godzilla
like-
does it again, and then Kong just, like, sets his hand on his head and runs away.
No, it's like Kong. No. Hear me. No, like Kong, like Godzilla breathes breath. Kong feels his chest, and it's like, you cinched my chest here. I'm returning for now, but I'll get you for this, you bastard.
Oh my gosh! Oh,
And then when they fight again, and he freaking... when he tries hiding from Godzilla, that's so funny.
It's like, you know the scene with the balloons?
Yeah.
When Wilson O'Brien, I heard when Wilson O'Brien saw that scene, he was crying. This is what they made of his, magnum opus, and
Yeah.
it is kind of sad in hindsight, to be honest.
Yeah, Kong
if you-
just... He doesn't
you
really,
think
you think Kong is this melee fighter, and all he does in this movie really is throw rocks. And then, like, after the lightning strikes, he gets, like, a good 3 or 4 minutes against Godzilla, and he starts beating the crap out of Godzilla
he
but,
goes like Super Saiyan 2.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, before,
Shocking.
he goes from Beast Titan to throwing rocks all the way to Super Saiyan, and then my favorite part is when he's trying to dodge Godzilla, and he's doing, like, these Dark Souls rolls, and he rolls face first into that rock, and he just lays there, and Godzilla's, like, kicking rocks on him, and beat him with his tail, and sets him on fire.
You know what this movie is? Now, it's funny how you said the Dark Souls goals. This movie is like, he's like playing against a Dark Souls boss, and he keeps dying and respawning. Like,
He's
every
so
time he
out of his
falls over.
league.
Yeah, and then he at the end he just turns on cheat codes. Freaking.
So yeah, he runs away and spends some time in the city.
He starts cheesing the boss.
He is
using the
cheesing him.
tree in the mouth method. That's how you cheese the Godzilla bosses. You shove the tree into the mouth and it dislodges. Yeah,
I like how not once but twice he gets drunk in this film.
Yeah, dude, he's got
Looks
a
like-
problem.
He has a
Looks
couple
like-
drinks, listens to some nice music, and just zonks out.
It was like the whole shooting thing, the whole filming with the octopus getting struck by electricity. It's gonna take a toll on the man, so he needs
Yeah.
something to relieve the stress.
Well, he shows up to the city, and he's like, yummy electricity, and he starts eating the power cores. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, this man's got a problem.
I was like, the only thing I would say is that, they show the difference between, Godzilla gets zapped by the electricity, and he backs off, and he leaves, and then Kong is eating it. So at least they established the fact that, electricity doesn't hurt Kong in the same way it does Godzilla.
Well,
Yes, as we know, in all Godzilla films, Godzilla's weakness is electricity, and never in any Godzilla film does he ever actually use electricity to win, because that would be very contradictory.
I would say both of those scenes, Toho just pulled right out of their asses last minute. Both the Kong getting the electric powers and then Godzilla turning into a freaking magnet.
well, the electric powers thing that was kind of left over from Godzilla versus Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay. you mentioned it before I forget. I think you already know this, but there were 3 live octopuses on set that they used to film a good portion of the octopus scenes. Apparently, they were using they could not get the octopuses to move. They were just sitting there not moving. So they were using heat, lamps and stuff, trying to make it uncomfortable to where it would move, and it just wouldn't move. But they finally got it to do something, and they got the footage looks really good. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, for the most part. The only times it doesn't look great is when they are doing, when Kong's throwing stuff at it, and it's just not the same color at all. Which, I mean, I'm glad they weren't just chucking boulders at a freaking octopus.
Did you know
someone
that,
called PETA?
And then they ate them.
Did you know that it was one of the Pirates of the Caribbean where the Kraken comes out and destroys the ship? The director of that told the special effects people to look back at this movie for where the stop motion tentacles grabbed that guy, and he said that's what he wanted it based off of.
Huh.
Yeah, I found that out. That's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know why you would choose this movie of all of them, but at the time, that stop motion effects with the CGI or the green screen, as rough as it looks now, that probably looked pretty impressive back then.
Yeah, back then, yeah.
So,
and I do like that they referenced this fight again in Skull Island with the Meyer squid. I do like that. That's a cool scene.
I love that they add that in there. That's a cool throwback. But
what
I have to say is, unfortunately, there were animals harmed in the making of this film, or post, as 2 of the octopuses were sent back, but the last one became AJ Subraya's dinner for the evening.
Here's something interesting though. The giant octopus not only reappeared in War of the Gargantuas and Frankenstein Conquers the World, well, the alternate ending for it, but originally it was also supposed to appear in Final Wars.
Oh, I didn't know he was supposed to be in Final Wars, because I think they call him Odako, right? That's the official character name for the octopus?
Yeah, there's concept art of him for Final Wars.
Is the alternate ending for Frankenstein Conquers the World where at the end the octopus just drags him under or something?
Yep.
That would have... No, I have not watched that movie yet. That would have kind of pissed me off as a Baragon fan. Baragon spends the whole movie fighting this guy and then he loses. And then, octopus comes out and kills him. What? Come on. I want to... Now, I still need to see that movie as a Baragon fan. The fact that I haven't seen it is a disgrace. But I have always wanted to make a Baragon film. I just have not figured out the right idea for it. So, take with that what you will.
There's definitely a lot of dialogue in the Japanese version that I really liked. And I'm sure some of it, kind of trickled its way into the dub, but I really love the fact that the Japanese military has to meet them when they're bringing Kong. They're like, yo, we're good. We don't want another giant monster. Do not bring Kong to Japan. Are you kidding me?
He's like, come on now, get this monkey out of here. We don't need that.
And I love the bit with him to where Taco flies himself out to the ship, and then he, almost leans on the dynamite. And they're like, don't do that! And then he does it again. He's honestly one of my favorite Showa characters.
I agree. It's a shame they never reused him. Then again, most of the characters were one-offs, but
especially for the film after this, with how much of a focus, kind of spoiler warning for Mothra versus Godzilla when we get to that, but just, that film has another, very... anti-greedy guy message.
Yes, that's true. What I should say is, if you're a Godzilla fan and you haven't seen Mothra versus Godzilla, you're wrong.
I meant more so spoiling the next episode of the podcast or the next entry in the series. But yeah, I get what you mean.
I love how
if you're listening to this and you have not seen Mothra versus Godzilla, leave a dislike, click off the video now, and go watch it. I don't know. I was gonna say something really mean, but then I couldn't think of something mean. Go watch the movie because you're wrong.
I love how at the end of the movie, when Kong escapes, he's just, let it go. He's so nonchalant about it. It's whatever. It is what it is.
Well, obviously Kong completely eviscerated Godzilla under water. Because Godzilla doesn't live under
yes.
the water, so there's no way that he would have just, like, went back underwater or something like that. That'd be weird.
It's been several years since I've seen the dub. When they're doing the whole scene to where they're trying to trap Godzilla underground or whatever, do they mention poison gas in the dub?
I do not remember.
Me neither.
Because they mentioned that in the sub. They said, yeah, we're going to trap Godzilla underground and then deploy the poison gas. I was like, whoa, poison gas. And then they also suggest using the hydrogen bomb on him. Then one of the guys makes a comment, attacking Godzilla is pointless. It would be the same as firing into a volcano. I was like, oh, wow, okay.
It's like, I don't really think they've used poison that much. Like, they'd used bacteria, but never really poison. Like,
yeah, that's why I typed it up. I was like, I don't really remember them ever touching upon poison in a Godzilla film. Definitely not in the dub. I don't remember that. And then let's see, what was some other dialogue? There was one to where they're talking about how, oh great, it's storming. Kong will get stronger by the lightning. And one of the dudes goes, yeah, like when Popeye eats spinach.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that scene. I've not, obviously, again, I haven't watched the sub yet, but that's a line that I'm like, why would they not keep that in the American version? That's such a good...
Okay,
like, Americans would get that, too.
Like, okay, when Popeye versus Godzilla...
Come on, Toho, what are you doing? Now's the time. Okay, so guys, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it is just over an hour since we started recording, and we have a whole nother movie to talk about in approximately 3 days. I think we'll be able to record again. I would say right now we should go ahead and give our final thoughts, predictions, or whatever for the upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong.
Sure. Yeah, one quick thing I'll say on King Kong vs. Godzilla real fast is, final line that I liked was there, and they may have said this in the dub again, when Kong's getting ready to attack Tokyo and she's being stubborn about evacuating, she said, evacuation is pointless, you can't predict Kong, he's not like a typhoon, he'll just go anywhere. I just thought that was kind of a neat line.
That reminds me of my favorite line from the dub, where it's the lady, she's not sure if the one guy died or not, and the other lady is like, the other lady's talking to her, and she's like, oh, maybe he's there. You should go to you should go check. You should go to Hokkaido. And it cuts right to this one guy on the UN. He says, "Do not go to Hokkaido." It's like so perfectly timed. I'm like, oh well, okay. Oh my gosh, that's definitely the best thing the dub did.
So, for final predictions, I predict the movie will be fun, but I will be very upset if King Kong doesn't shove any inanimate object down Godzilla's throat.
I think that's gonna happen. I think they're not. I don't think they're gonna. I think he might put the axe in there, or the axe handle.
I mean, that would be a good stand-in for the tree for me. Yeah, I almost wanted to make a little bingo board before going in.
I think... so, what I should say, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but what I should preface to the audience is, unfortunately, I opened YouTube the other day and saw a title that said Monster A beats Monster B and showed a thumbnail that clearly depicted that happening. Now, whether that was taken out of context or not, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it is accurate, and I'm pretty sure I know who wins, so I'm not going to give my prediction on who wins this film, because I probably will be right, because I think I got spoiled on it. We'll see how accurate that is. However, I'm certainly very excited for it anyway. I'm very excited for to get a portrayal of Godzilla as a villain, which hasn't really happened. I believe it. Shin Gojira is one thing, but I like to see in this MonsterVerse that be a thing.
Yeah.
I am excited for more stuff on the Hollow Earth. Have you all seen like the plot synopsis like that they've given, where basically this is officially released, so like I said, it's not spoilers. It's just the basic plot is that they're going to be following Kong to learn about the Hollow Earth, and that's his purpose in the film. That's
one of the many they've released like 5 different synopses for the films, and each one got a little more detailed. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, but I think for me, like, I don't know what it is. For me, I'm not sure what spoils a film like this. I mean, who wins kind of spoils it, but then again, as we know with the Mechagodzilla plot in there, it probably doesn't matter as much as you would think in the end. We kind of all agreed that there's no way they're killing one of these monsters off in the film. We should talk about it is, and is it the entire Asian market? They got the opening weekend at 122 million.
Yeah.
Which actually, even during this situation,
it's incredible.
Several of the other MonsterVerse films, I believe, in their opening weekends in the same areas. That's insane. Like, I don't even know what to say about that. The world is ready to be open up again, and they're ready to actually experience life, and so this is kind of the first step towards that. Of course, it's important to be responsible during all this, but at the same time, I'm kind of in agreement. I'm tired of being stuck inside. I'm ready to go see my first movie in theaters in over a year now. And what better movie than Godzilla vs. Kong? So,
yeah, I almost went and saw Monster Hunter. I don't regret that I didn't go see it in the theater.
God bless your soul.
But yeah, I'm super excited to finally see this. If there's one thing I hope is in the film, I hope there's just a little nod somewhere to Kong's electric powers. I don't want Kong to have electric powers in this movie. I just think a little nod would be neat. I don't know how that would be done, but maybe just a one-off line from a character, or he could grab something and it shock Godzilla. Yeah.
Have y'all seen some of the early reviews, or saw the general reception has been mostly, it's been like 80% positive.
Yeah, I've seen, basically what I've heard is Godzilla vs. Kong delivers on the monster front, and like all of the other MonsterVerse films, has a pretty weak human story and plot and everything overall.
The difference I heard with this film was that the plot, from most of the reviews I've seen, it's self-aware, and that it's not trying to write human characters. It's having the human characters be entertaining while getting you from point A to point B, which I've heard. I forgot I don't know the cast, but there's the one.
Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah, well, yeah. What's the I'm trying to think. Millie Bobby Brown. Obviously, she's a really good actress, but the trying to think, the black male actor that's with her.
I don't know.
You know who
I've not seen him in anything else, but I know who you're talking about.
I heard he's a conspiracy theorist. He has a conspiracy podcast, is what I heard. And
we should invite him.
Basically, he gets to find out everything. He's like Alex Jones. If Alex Jones figured out he was right about everything, like he got confirmation. It's kind of like that, and he's supposed to be pretty funny. So we've heard mostly good things about the humans don't overstay their welcomes. I heard someone say that there's only 30 minutes of monster action in this film. If there is 30 minutes of monster action in this film, I think that's pretty good.
They're saying only?
Yeah, they said there's only 30 minutes of monster action. Like, you realize that's over a quarter of the movie.
Like, if you go to that chart that shows the percentage of Godzilla in movies,
That'd be number
The longest time we've ever seen has been like 27 minutes with Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2.
Right.
Now remember, that's not all Godzilla, but we get a lot. I've heard that it's basically Kong's movie, in a way. His story.
I feel like 100% Kong is the protagonist, regardless. I think he is the protagonist of the story. I don't think it's going to be a human. I don't think it's Godzilla. I think it is very much Kong.
I did hear Kong and Jai. The reviews were saying Kong and Jai's relationship is probably the strongest human element, which is nice to see. I do like the whole Kong using sign language and having a human character to interact with will make it pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I hope Kong gives the finger in this movie.
He does it if he does that to Godzilla, that'd be great. So Methlo Kaiju is the guy. I'll go ahead and say it. Methlo Kaiju might be coming on the podcast soon. He was the guy I was mentioning. Methlo Kaiju put his spoiler-free review out yesterday, and the one thing he mentioned is he was never a big Kong fan, but this film certainly swayed him in that direction.
Ooh.
He's always been a big Godzilla fan, obviously, but now he said that this film made him like Kong even more than he had in previous iterations. So that's pretty cool. Most of the negative reviews I've seen have a couple things in common. They either, one, are just mad that theaters are open at all and are kind of lashing out. Which, in my opinion, it's your life. You do what you want. If you think that it's not time to leave, that's fine. But I also think that, if you're taking the proper precautions for now, it's been a year. I think we need to start moving on in some capacity.
Right.
And I think that this is a good first step.
Even then,
also,
you should.
Go ahead.
Even then, you shouldn't, blame the film for it. It's up to the individual. They have the option to watch it at home. If they don't want to take it, that's on them.
Yeah. And that's kind of my whole thing with the situation in general right now. But I don't want to get too far into that to risk being controversial. I'm not trying to alienate anybody. However, what some of the other negative reviews I've seen, I'm gonna now maybe we'll watch it and maybe they'll have some validity. I very much doubt it, but I've heard some people saying that it is a disgrace to the Japanese heritage. And I think a big part of this is there's been the recent tragic things with the Asian hate crimes going around. And I think that the whole media as a whole likes to attach to one thing. So I think they're trying to find more like Asian victimhood happening in a film that I am pretty sure is not the case. If
It's
that
like
makes sense.
My 2 cents is, unless you're in the group who's being offended, you shouldn't speak for them. They're adults. Let them speak for themselves.
Exactly. I think the issue is the villain is Japanese, which I don't know how much it is shown, but like that, just because a guy's a bad guy and he's Japanese, that doesn't mean that we're saying all Japanese people is bad. No, it's clearly a character.
Right. Not only does it tie into the plot, but the main character for the previous 2 films, Dr. Serizawa, pretty much saved Godzilla and therefore the world.
Yeah, it's strange. One thing I want to preface here, I am not 100% sure, and I'm not trying to get political here. I'm not 100% sure what y'all's beliefs are. This is not a political thing for me. This is a common sense thing. Characters are written in certain ways, and just because let's say you have a character like this who is a Japanese character and he's the villain, that doesn't mean that again, it's kind of the thing with the media. The media always likes to attack something in some form, and especially with like the Asian hate crimes, which I'm not supporting, obviously, and I'm not.
God, no.
I'm not speaking on that. Okay, I don't really have a full opinion on what's going on there. I just know that it's not good. but I can't really speak on that because I have not researched enough on that. What I'm saying is, the media likes to take an idea that's present and attribute it to everything. So, and I'm not trying to get too into it, but essentially, don't let that discourage you from watching the film. Watch the film and come to your own merits. What I'll tell you is the guy I follow, Matt Frank, on Facebook, and I'll be honest, I disagree with a lot of his political leanings, and he is very open about it. However, he has watched the film, and he has no issues with that. So it's not just me. It's if people who are saying this are just trying to get clicks on their little BuzzFeed articles, and they need something to attack. And Godzilla versus Kong is what's popular right now, so that's what it's gonna be. So I just wanted to go ahead and put that out there. That's what a lot of negative reviews have been. And I think when you make a negative review, unless if there was actual blatant discrimination, which, as far as I can see, is clearly not there. You have a diverse cast of people in this film for sure. It's really just to generate views and clicks and all that, and it's kind of disappointing. However, it seems like that, along with Snyder fans who have been what do they call it? They've been,
Review bombing.
Yeah, review bombing. It seems like that stuff has not had much of an effect, as we are still in full go. The film's still doing good. And
official sources are in the process of deleting those reviews.
Thank God.
Yeah. The last episode we talked a bit about the Snyder cult, if you will, and then immediately as soon as we got done recording that, the next couple days, the worst of it came. But luckily, IMDb's taking down reviews that they're putting up and all that. Because they were literally they weren't even reviewing the film. They were giving it 1 star and then saying, #restore the Snyderverse, blah, blah, blah. And it's like...
As far as I know, Snyder has said he does not really interested in doing any more superhero movies at the moment. He wants to do more smaller projects.
So speaking of... No, I don't know much about that. I don't know a lot about Snyder. But speaking of Snyder and the Asian hate crimes, apparently Snyder, one of his daughters is Asian. I'm not sure if y'all can confirm or deny this, but I heard this somewhere. So if I'm wrong, someone let me know. But one of his daughters is Asian, and there was a bunch of people on one of the Asian hate crime things. They were just commenting, "Restore the Snyderverse" on that post, and it's like, this is obviously not an appropriate place to be spreading reviews. 2, I'm sure Snyder would not be for this, considering that he has a stake in this with his family. Which, again, I'm not trying to jump into the politics. I just it just shows how far these Snyder fans, in quotes, are going.
Right. One thing I want to say is, even if the reviews for the film end up becoming more negative than positive, all that matters is if you like the film or if you don't like the film. All that matters is what you think of the film. Don't let anyone try to sway your way. Maybe your opinion will change over time. It happens naturally, but all that matters is what you think. Not what that guy thinks or what we think. We're just a couple of assholes on the internet. What do we know?
For sure. People for years said Godzilla's Revenge was bad, but it's clearly the best Godzilla film in my opinion. I can't understand why people don't like it.
You can't say that with straight face, can ya?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. That one didn't really too well. You know what? If I ever run for office, that's what they're gonna take me down with. It's like, listen, this, he might have some good points, but listen to this, and they're gonna play a clip where I said Godzilla's Revenge was my favorite film in the series. Instantly voted out of office or impeached.
Godzilla says I should fight my own battles.
I'm so not excited to get to that film in this little watch-a-thon. What I will say is, something I should mention is, you guys don't know, now that I have access to watch Destroy All Monsters and Godzilla vs. Megaguirus and some of the films I haven't seen yet, you don't know how hard it has been to hold back on watching those. What I will say is, the one I'm probably going to crack on is I'm probably going to watch Shin Godzilla soon.
That makes sense.
Fair enough.
Well, and it'll probably be a while before we get to it anyways, so...
I was going to say, yeah, I might hold off on some of the ones we'll be getting to somewhat soon. But that one's...
You could always watch Shin and then do a personal video on it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I do have some ideas for some more videos. The Godzilla Singular Point video did pretty good for them compared to my recent videos. So I might try to cover some more of that, but the problem is it did come out in Japan. Don't think we're getting much more press on that. So unless I can actually start watching, I don't want to try to watch it in Japanese and just figure out what's going on there. So
from what I've seen, there are already subs coming out for it.
Oh, there are?
Yep, and episode 2 comes out tomorrow. Or today, technically, since it just passed midnight over here.
Okay, well, post-podcast, before y'all hop off, because I know it's really late for y'all, I need you to send me, if you can find anything on that, because I would definitely be wanting to watch it ASAP. I'll probably wait until after tomorrow, but I would like to get on that. But yeah, I'd say I not to speak for y'all, but I think we're all excited for Godzilla vs. Kong. This is the one moment. Think about this, guys. Right now, all of cinema, all of film, all of theaters are being saved by Godzilla vs. Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Theaters could have been, like, for a while we were wondering if theaters would ever be a thing. And as strange as hyperbolic as it is, I think it's not far-fetched to say that this movie might have saved that experience for the ongoing future past this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And for once, this is the moment where, like, you were getting made fun of as a kid for watching those goofy monster suits. Well, now everybody is excited for this movie, casuals or whatever, and you can kind of, you can kind of be a little smug, being like, yeah, you know what, I was there back, when I was little, I was watching the original of this movie, and now
we watched Godzilla before it. Oh, sorry, you go first.
We watched Godzilla before it was cool.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so it's been a long time coming, and I'm excited. Do y'all have any final thoughts before we go ahead and end this half, and for the viewers at home, move on to our Godzilla vs. Kong reactions and reviews?
Let's see. So it's 12:09 EST, right around the end of this recording. So for me, I'm about 18 hours out from seeing Godzilla vs. Kong. I gotta go to sleep, I gotta go work, and then I can watch the movie. So I honestly think I might be turning all of my social media onto airplane mode and avoiding my phone all day tomorrow.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. I guess I should have cleared my YouTube search history or watch history or whatever. That's what people were telling me when I got spoiled. Is like, hey, that's what you're supposed to do, so you won't get those recommended. But speaking of, on my alternate account on Son of Sibo when I was uploading, because I have a different account that I watch YouTube on. But I went on the Son of Sibo, and while I was uploading, I was watching stuff on there, so I didn't have to switch around on it. And I got the same recommendation again. So that was kind of heartbreaking. Because I'm not going to break into what it said. No matter who wins, it's going to be fun. And even if that is true, it's still going to be fun. But it kind of confirmed, okay, yeah, that's probably how it's going to end.
Yeah, Charles Barkley wins.
Charles Barkley comes in.
Shooting some people outside of Hong Kong.
Titanosaurus returns.
Yes.
Will
Rinsorazawa is actually sleeper agent for the. Rinsorazawa is actually sleeper agent for the Gazillions.
Imagine if this just like started like like they talk about the Spider-Man with the Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Like this just started the Godzilla multiverse. Like you have Godzilla Final Wars and GMK and the show like 1974. They all just come out at the end.
I want to see Titanosaurus come out of a portal and then lift Godzilla 2021 up by his jaw.
I'm thinking I'm gonna.
Actually, now that I think about it, Titanosaurus in this movie wouldn't be the most confusing thing, considering you basically had a very Titanosaurus-like kaiju confirmed in the comics, and then Titanosaurus' original appearance was with Mechagodzilla.
Yep.
Either way, it's getting late for y'all, and this should be an extra long podcast. We're already about an hour 30, and there's probably going to be an hour 30 more as we just spend the rest of this talking about Godzilla vs. Kong post watching it, clearly. So, for now, this is the BroZilla podcast, and we will be right back after a short break.
After a word from our sponsors.
No, we don't have sponsors. Don't tell... Alright, everybody, we're back from the break. We all just ran to the movies real quick, watched Godzilla vs. Kong, and ran right back here. We're recording on the same day, actually. I'm surprised y'all were able to do it so fast.
Especially on a Tuesday.
Yeah, it's Tuesday. Real quick, just to preface, if you have not watched Godzilla vs. Kong, then you're wrong. Go watch it right now. And if you need further convincing, James Rolfe from AVGN liked it. Doug Walker from Nostalgia Critic liked it. Chris Stuckman liked it. And most importantly, Moist Critical, Charlie gave it a fat 85% on the Moist meter. So you know that it's good. So go watch it. Spoilers incoming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Godzilla wins.
Wait, Godzilla wins? Oh, I saw the wrong... Oh, I watched the 1962 version.
Oh, yes.
Dang. No,
Damn you!
Yeah, so I think we are all happy with the result of the Godzilla vs. Kong skirmish. At the very least, I think we can agree on that.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh,
That's
definitely.
Probably that is the last thing we're going to agree on in this podcast. Prepare for war.
Now, I think it's about time Godzilla got to take that victory from Kong. Kong's had it for almost 60 years now. It's Godzilla's turn.
Like, it's pretty much, at this point, Godzilla has defeated every monster he's fought at one point or another, so...
You know, honestly, he only has, like, one win over Mothra. Like, he beat Mothra in GMK, but if you, like, even in Mothra versus Godzilla, like, in the end, Mothra kind of wins. I mean, if you want to call it 1-1, that's fine, but...
I mean, he also won in Tokyo SOS.
You know, I think I remember that, but I'll be honest, it's been so long since I've seen Tokyo SOS, so that'll be fun to revisit. However, yes, Godzilla wins. Godzilla beats Kong. Kong is bad. Don't like. Just kidding. Honestly, this movie is. Kong fans get this though. This movie follows Kong, and this is really. Kong is the main character of this movie. Their human characters are there, but Kong is the main character. And I enjoy that personally. I feel like Kong is the perfect kaiju. You know, he's so expressive, and I mean, it's believable where you can have him do the sign language and stuff, and like like if Godzilla started doing sign language, I don't know why, but the difference there would be weird. It'd be like, okay, what's going on here?
Right. With this being more of a Kong movie than a Godzilla movie, I don't mind. I mean, this isn't the first time Godzilla was a guest star in his own film.
Yeah, he's pretty used to it.
I mean, not even the first time this has happened in the MonsterVerse.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what are your guys' thoughts on the film overall? Just your general feelings towards the film. Christian, you go first.
I loved it. It was very fun. The action scenes, I think, are the best depiction of kaiju in both a mix of realism and just pure entertainment that have ever been put on screen. I don't think it's going to be hard to top that anytime soon, in that aspect at least. Obviously, the human characters weren't always the greatest, but the human characters in this film, probably the best in the MonsterVerse, at entertainment-wise. They were constantly entertaining. I still hold that Godzilla 2014 has a better, has the best writing out of these films, but I understand that it's a different type of movie. It's more of a disaster or a dark movie. In this movie, the characters, the humor, for the most part, is funny, except that kid Josh. I want to strangle him, but everybody else. What's the podcaster? I forgot the actor's name.
Bernie.
Bernie. Is
I don't know the actor's name.
Yeah, Bernie is great. Okay, everything Bernie says, I love. But
I like when he walks in, when they walk into the place where Mechagodzilla is, and he screams.
Yeah, and I loved when the CEO guy gets killed. What's his name? Walt Simmons. He gets killed, and then he's like, "Man, that's unfair. I really wanted to hear that speech."
Yeah.
Yeah. Will, what are your overall thoughts?
I think this is a really fun and entertaining film. I would go as far as saying this is definitely the most visually impressive film in the MonsterVerse. Maybe even the best looking kaiju film we've gotten since the rebirth of monsters in 2013 with Pacific Rim. I think once you look outside of that, I think anything technical, it starts to falter a little bit, but I think we'll get into that some more further into this whole discussion. But, I mean, if you're coming for the monster fights, and, I mean, it delivers in that aspect 100%. If you're coming in looking for Godzilla 1954 or anything of that caliber, you're looking in the wrong place.
Yeah.
For me, I thought the film was good. Nothing exceptional or anything, but it's weird because, in a way, I was kind of expecting a little more when it comes to characterization of the monsters. Like a little more of a, like, Godzilla goes after Kong because Kong doesn't really, get God. Like, they just happen to cross paths, not because, Godzilla's, like, directly hunting him. They're just happening to cross paths.
I would say when in the first fight, Godzilla sensed Kong and went after him. But besides that, I understand what you're saying. I will say, though...
Yeah, they made sure you knew that.
Yeah, the thing is here... Godzilla is not a character in this movie, in my opinion. Godzilla is back to 2014 being a force of nature, but he's honestly... I say that, I'm not even sure if that's accurate. He's almost like a... honestly, he's probably the closest we've gotten to a Heisei Godzilla in this series, where he, both in how he fights, which at first he spams his atomic breath until Kong forces him not to, and then his behavioral pattern is pretty similar too. Now, again, the reason he's destroying the city is because he's looking for Mechagodzilla, or he's looking for King Ghidorah. That's what he senses, which honestly, I really like that idea. And then, yeah, but he's not a character in this movie. I wouldn't go that far. Maybe by the end, he is. After he's a character from the point where he beats Kong throughout the rest of this movie. You could call it that. But for anything before that, he is the antagonist, and he's a force of nature. And you know what? I can't complain. I like Godzilla as, I like him to have emotion, but the amount of emotion they showed is perfectly fine for me, and I've just been killing to see Godzilla in a villainous role again. So, even though it was temporary, this kind of scratched that itch.
It's like, for me, I don't know, something held this film back a bit. It's not like to the point where I didn't like it. I still had a great time with it. It's kind of weird to explain, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's because you don't like fun movies. It's
No. Dude, like, Ghidorah 3 Monster, like, the corny monster movies, like, they're my bread and butter. Not to say this film was corny, but one
I
thing
think your actions speak louder than your words, Tyler. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no. I get it. I understand, and I'm not blaming anyone for not liking this film. I mean, because it's okay to have wrong opinions. That's not. It's not. No, I mean, and from what I get, y'all both enjoy the film. I think I probably enjoy it the most out of us, from what I gather. But
then again, my viewing experience was kind of hindered because my Wi-Fi was on the fritz when I was watching it, so it would stop, freeze, it'll play, freeze, kick me out of HBO Max.
Is there really no theaters that you can get to?
I can, but my mom's like, I don't have a car. My mom is my only source of transportation, and she is fiercely protective of me. She's a mama bear, so yeah, she doesn't want me, COVID and all that. But back to Godzilla and Kong just happening to cross paths. I find it hilarious that Godzilla just senses that Kong happens to be right beneath him, but instead of just letting well enough alone, he uses his breath to burrow through the Earth's crust into the core and calls him out. I'm like, it's not a bit overkill?
This movie was really like the plot of a Toho film for me. Like, that's the kind of why I like it felt like a Toho plot, but like if they had the effects to bring it out, because there was a lot of stuff like that like you don't like question, like kind of like Godzilla tanking a meteor or a black hole or that type of stuff. Like, it doesn't have to make sense for me. I enjoyed it.
Right. It's like, I enjoyed that too, but I'm like, it's a moment where you're like, God damn, he's strong. And Godzilla didn't do it to attack him. It just did it so it could call Kong out. And it's both ridiculous and awesome. It's like,
this movie is booked like a pro wrestling show, and I enjoy the hell out of that.
To compare it, it's like if you want to get your neighbor's attention because they're dog crap on the lawn, you would throw a grenade outside their house so the wall will break open and so you can yell at them. It's ridiculous, but I love that.
So how I explained this movie to my friend, who he really doesn't care much about it, but so I ended up just kind of talking about the movie to him. He was someone who likes wrestling, and how I explained this finale to him was essentially, it was like if John Cena fought Randy Orton in an Iron Man match, and at the end John Cena wins. He puts in that STF, and Randy has to tap out because he has like the chains or whatever, and then after that, Brock Lesnar comes out and starts beating the crap out of John Cena, and then Randy had to come help and finish it with the RKO. That's essentially what happened here, except obviously you replace the monsters, John Cena with Godzilla, Randy Orton with Kong, blah blah blah.
Yeah. And sorry about my Brock Lesnar yell.
I didn't even catch that. That's funny. Even like when Mechagodzilla grabs a hold of Godzilla, he starts doing the WWE thing where you smash him in the corner, but he's doing it in the buildings. And then the moment when Godzilla and Kong both grab Mechagodzilla, they grab his arm and put their hands on his shoulder and throw him through the building. That was like at both theaters I went to, that was like an audience like cheer, like, or a gasp or just laughter. Like it got a reaction.
It's like that's like something one of the kind of things we always want to see, like Godzilla and Kong team up instead of fight. And for what it was, I thought the payoff was well worth it.
For sure.
Oh yeah. One funny detail I noticed when Godzilla was fighting Kong's like for a small section of the whole fight, Godzilla was on all fours like a freaking like crocodile or Postosuchus and just charging at them. We've never seen Godzilla do that before, and
that was terrifying.
My friend who works for or he used to work for, and actually he's applying to another one. He used to work a lot with alligators and crocodiles in the zoo, and he's big into reptiles. He told me that like Godzilla's behavior in this movie is very close to a crocodile, especially in those scenes. But obviously, like when he's dragging Kong underwater earlier. By the way, did y'all catch the Jaws references in the water fight?
Yeah.
When Kong was stuck under there, it was like Hooper in the cage, and yet you heard the dun dun dun. Like I don't know if y'all heard that. The music slightly changed to like that rhythm during that moment, and I was like, okay, that's when the boat gets attached to Godzilla's spine, and then it's like the buoy at the end of the movie.
Yeah, right.
Like Godzilla's. I was so happy with it. I didn't catch that part until the second time, but when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's like when the barrels get attached to their jaws. So yeah, that was really fun. Again, that fight scene as a whole was fun. It was so great that 20 minutes into the movie, they gave us a whole fight scene. And that, to be honest, that is more than most of the other MonsterVerse films had in their whole movie at that point.
It's like with Godzilla going after Kong, he for some reason it felt like he was more irritated and like PO'd than when Ghidorah returned. Ghidorah just came up and fight him, but this time he was like tearing everything in his path apart. Like
I think that was because he was resentful towards the humans. I think he knew that the humans were tied somehow. That's at least what I was thinking anyway. Was that the humans were tied to, what he sensed as something like King Ghidorah, and so that's why he was attacking the facilities, and that's why I feel like he was targeting the boats. That there's the one moment where after Kong gets out of the water the first time, he looks over, and you see Godzilla turn around and start heading towards the boats, and Kong's like, oh no, and I freaking laughed my ass off at that. And then Kong jumps over maybe I misinterpreted it, but it looked like Kong was actually trying to protect the boat, so he jumps over. And I just love that realization, because it's kind of like a Jaws thing where the shark turns, but I love like the look on his face, like where he's like, oh no, because he can see that Godzilla's getting straight towards the boat.
Oh shit. It's like Godzilla, like he was really bloodlusted this whole movie. It's like not even like maybe aside from GMK a bit, I've never seen Godzilla so relentless,
For sure. He was very aggressive, and his fighting style, now in my headcanon, whether you want to take this as just, how I explain it anyway, is the reason he was faster in this film is because when he's fighting something like King Ghidorah, they fight in a certain way. It's like they fight the same way, if that makes sense. While fighting something like Kong, I feel like he had to adapt his strategies to Kong, which is why we saw him go on all fours and do those new things.
Right.
Speaking of, we got the reference to King Kong. We got a few references to King Kong versus Godzilla. We got the helicopter scene where they were picking him up, which was obviously like the balloons. And then, more importantly, we got the axe into the mouth, which was... whether people got the reference or not, that's another moment that people were laughing and cheering.
I'm not gonna lie, I screamed when that happened. It's like one of those iconic Toho moments, but when you just seen it happen again after all these years, it's just so satisfying.
Seeing Kong go for the jaw break and Godzilla shoot the atomic breath like 3 times in a row was really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping something would happen like that.
They did literally, in the fight scenes, they did everything we could have wanted from Kong vs. Godzilla, in my opinion. Like, you could probably come up with something in your head that, like, well, it could have been cool if they did that. But they covered basically everything that people had joked about or talked about. They used Kong to his advantage in the city, because at the beginning of the Hong Kong fight, you see Kong getting the advantage because he's in a domain where he can use his agility and all that.
I'm so glad we didn't see them fight in a city that was already destroyed.
It's like with everything we kind of theorized in that Godzilla vs. Kong, like who would win kind of thing. We some of the stuff we said in there actually translated to what happened. Kong using his environment to his advantage, Kong using tools to his advantage and whatnot.
Yeah, it was they thought the things through. Okay, another moment. Of course, Kong wins round 2. Yeah, sure, whatever. Bad judging here. they got these freaking Texas judges from UFC. I don't know if y'all probably don't get that reference. Texas has bad judges in UFC. They always call the wrong fight to win, or fighter to win. But they got those type of judges in here saying Kong won the round. Okay, it was obviously like a draw at that point. The fight was still going on. Either way, let's give it to him. Kong gets this little. He gets on that building. Godzilla starts crawling. And Kong throws that little object, like straight up like he was playing like a stealth game. He throws the object to distract Godzilla, and then he just jumps on top of him, which was really fun. But listen, Kong fans, Kong got the jump and all the advantage there. He still got his butt whooped. He got his arms thrown, shoulder dislocated. Then the finale of the fight was so ruthless. Like, I honestly, at that point, I was feeling bad for Kong. Like, he was, like, running and kicking away, and Godzilla would just come at him. And I don't know, I kind of, like, almost teared up a little when Kong, like, was looking, like, sad when Godzilla was stepping on him. When he realized he had lost. Like, I kind of, like, choked up for a second, because I was like, it was almost like I was like, this is what I wanted. I did this to him.
One thing I kind of realized when watching the movie is, like, Godzilla didn't use his breath to win. He used his brute strength, which it really emphasizes how powerful he's become over these films. Mm-hmm. At this point, if he fought those two Mutos again, if they were the same size as him,
easy dub.
Right.
I think straight up, now maybe it is, I don't know if the Muto EMP theory is confirmed or whatever, but I think straight up with how much powerful his atomic breath has gotten, he wouldn't even need to, like, fight them melee, because they're not going to be dodging, like, the flying Muto, maybe, but I feel like he could straight up just incinerate, like, with the power that his atomic breath is showing.
His atomic breath was as strong as... Yeah. And his atomic breath was as strong as Mechagodzilla's, and Mechagodzilla just slices through that skullcrawler like butter.
It's like his breath in this movie was kind of like on par of the GMK breath in terms of visuals, which I absolutely adore. Speaking of Mechagodzilla, let's get to him. Will.
Real quick. One thing I need to mention is that you speaking about GMK, and there's a scene where Godzilla's attacking the thing and the guys in GMK where he's shooting the atomic breath and you see the soldiers fly in the air. That exact scene basically happens.
Yeah, that does happen in the Pensacola attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you put them side by side next to each other, like they're almost the same scene. Like where they fly in the air, and when I caught that, I went back and looked up the GMK scene just to be sure, and I'm like, dang, that's pretty interesting.
That was brutal.
Yeah. For sure, Godzilla.
I am glad they didn't add the cartoony sound effects like when the guys get blown away in Final Wars in New York. I'm glad they didn't go that route. Like the woo-woo-woo!
The whole Final Wars New York scene should have been in this movie.
Yes. They need to reprise their roles.
Yeah, same character, same actor. What did the guy says, like, yeah, get him. Or he's a try it.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, either way.
Yeah, this is a hand cannon. Blow your ass all the way back to Jersey.
No, I'm gonna blow your ass back to Jersey.
The other guy says, yeah, go for it.
Great.
Oh shit!
We're
Do it.
It's a big birdie. It's heading for us.
Okay, let's. Okay, you wanted to move on to Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
And Will, you were gonna give Will the floor because Will has some opinions.
Yep. Speak.
I'll say right off the bat, I am not a fan of Mechagodzilla's involvement in the movie. I will even back when Mechagodzilla was leaked in the toys, that definitely affected my hype for the film a little bit. First off, his design is horrible, in my opinion. I think it doesn't even really look that much like Godzilla. It's kind of just a big dinosaur that's really skinny. I think the face looks goofy. I don't like the spines. And I don't like the hands. He's got these big claw hands.
From the back, he kind of looked like Kong with a tail. I don't know if you saw the same thing. He was built like a... Maybe Mechanic Kong is part of Mechagodzilla in this movie. I don't know. But
I will say a positive of the design. I do like whatever's on the end of his tail. That's cool. That was kind of Shin Godzilla-like, and I kind of liked that.
It's like when it gets into his face, it's like, oh jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm not a big fan of just how much he plays in the story. I mean, he's kind of the whole reason the events happen. I mean, as soon as Apex Cybernex comes up on the screen, you're like, oh, okay. Yep. Mechagodzilla is the reason Godzilla is going all wacky. And I'm sure we all knew that going in, that was probably going to be the reason. But we really didn't even get a minute to think about it. Or, even wonder, oh, what is making Godzilla upset? And then, okay, another positive. I do like his introduction scene. I like seeing him laying down like a lizard that was sleeping was pretty cool with, like, his tail to the side. That was neat. And I did like seeing him fight the Skullcrawler. I was super happy we got to see another Skullcrawler.
It was almost like he was folded in like a NECA box.
Yeah.
The
surprised they didn't bring out a cup of hot water to attach the tail.
Yeah, that's supposed to be like the Alpha Skullcrawler. Like, we never even saw Kong fight one that big. And then he just, he crucified it and then cut it in half.
He did what Ghidorah wants to do to Rodan.
Yeah.
With this Mechagodzilla, I feel like, looking at its design, it feels like a very, like, beta version of Mechagodzilla. Like, it's a first model, and I feel like the guy rushed it out just to, take out Godzilla ASAP without, really refining it.
And I think that angle would have worked if he was maybe half the size, a beta Mechagodzilla taking on Skullcrawlers and Titans more like the ones we saw in Skull Island from 2017. I think that would have been a little more quotation mark realistic. I know we've pretty much abandoned the realism concept in the MonsterVerse now, but I don't know, just seeing the jump from the Argo and Castle Bravo to Mechagodzilla, the hyperspace warp tunnel, and all that kind of stuff was a really big leap that kind of caught me off guard. And they don't explain a lot. Like, I didn't really understand what Mechagodzilla was doing when he was doing those, like, blue energy punches or whatever.
I think, like, they're, like energy pulses.
Yeah, something like that. So, yeah, I don't want to be super overly negative. I mean, Mechagodzilla is definitely the aspect of the film I will be the most negative on. I think I don't like how he fights, and I think his CG looks pretty good for the most part. I'm not sold on the animation. I think there are some scenes with Mechagodzilla to where they completely abandon, like, the concept of any sort of physics, if that makes sense.
It feels too weightless, you mean?
Yeah, like, especially with the fight beforehand. I mean, if we want to jump back for a second, the fight between Godzilla and Kong in Hong Kong is phenomenal.
I
feel like there's weight in it.
I feel like part of it is that they wanted to sell how strong Mechagodzilla was, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of agree with what you're saying with that. and I do think that, in comparison to Godzilla vs. Kong, it's kind of weird, but it also, I think part of it just sells how insanely powerful Mechagodzilla is. That he just, you just saw Godzilla and Kong fighting back and forth, and Godzilla get the win, and then Mechagodzilla just grabs him by the collar and just launches him across the city, basically swinging him around. And I get it looks kind of silly, but it's like, it really does sell the power of Mechagodzilla. Now, I understand, maybe if they had slowed it down half the speed, it might have worked better.
Even if they just abandoned the jump jets, I probably would have been fine with it. I think another thing for me, and this is something we've not really talked about, and we'll probably disagree on this, but I don't feel like Godzilla was really losing the battle with Mechagodzilla. He was getting tossed around and everything, but when we saw the Mutos fighting Godzilla, we saw him getting beat down into the ground, and he was getting slow and lethargic. We see Ghidorah do that huge lightning blast to him, and he's got the hole in his head, and he's slowed down. I don't really feel like... And maybe I just didn't watch the scene right. I don't know. I just didn't feel like...
Did you miss the part where Mechagodzilla was about to do the kiss of death to Godzilla?
No, I did not miss that, and that was cool.
Godzilla was done. He got his ass whooped, and then he was about to get finished off with his own move. We're talking about pro wrestling. He was about to get hit with they're about to hit Randy Orton with the RKO. You can't do that. You can't disrespect him.
And that was a really cool throwback.
Right. And I just find it funny that it's Kevin's head in Mechagodzilla, and I like to think in an alternate timeline, this Mechagodzilla.
Who came up with the name Kevin, by the way? Is that a fan name?
That was Michael Dougherty.
Oh, okay. He named the other two?
Ichi and Ni.
Yeah.
But I feel like in an alternate universe, he's just gonna be placid, looking at people. No. He wouldn't kill the guy in the facility. He wouldn't kill what's his name. He would have
the Simmons dude.
He would just try to poke him constantly. What is that? Why is my... No, he would be too busy checking himself out. Why are my hands gyroscopic?
Okay, another positive about Mechagodzilla, when they're powering him up, I love how they made a robotic version of Ghidorah's alpha call. I loved that. I don't know if you guys caught that or not, but that was so cool. I really liked that.
Oh my gosh, I just remembered. I don't want to kind of get off topic for a second. I remember Rob saying that he said Mechagodzilla does his best Shin Godzilla impression after doing his atomic breath and shuts down for 2 weeks. I'm sorry. I was just yeah, but trying to think. Yeah, no, here's what I'll say with Mechagodzilla. I thought I liked all his weapons. I liked the fight scene. I get it was a little ridiculous, but I was already here for it. I was already into it. My suspension of disbelief was long gone. What I will say is the design was never gonna live up for me. That design was not great. I'm not gonna say it's even a good design, but no design's ever gonna live up to Kuryu in my opinion. Unless they had just taken Kuryu's design and slightly altered it to look more like Legendary Godzilla, I probably would have still been I don't like it that much. Because, I don't know, in my opinion, the Kuryu design was the peak of Mechagodzilla. Not necessarily Kuryu himself, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so I can't
honestly, with the design, I'd say give him more Godzilla-looking spines, like every Mechagodzilla that came beforehand, and give him a new head, and I'll throw away all my other complaints about it being kind of skinny and the hands.
I will say, though, the more they make it, I get it's already ridiculous, but the more they make it look like Godzilla, the more the audience is going to be like, well, why would they make his spines that shape? You know what I'm saying? Because they kind of made it... Yeah. How they made it, it kind of makes sense. They made it as simple as possible while getting their job done.
Well, then give the spines a function. You know how those little shoulder pads come up and shoot the missiles? Have big Godzilla-shaped spines that are missile launchers.
If they, they should have done it like the 2014 spines. where it was
something.
It was, because I think if they go the full Maple Leaf, that's where like the audience is going to. Because I'm not sure if you know. The reason Rob from ETN was saying that Mechagodzilla wouldn't work in the MonsterVerse is because the audience would be like, well, why? They would think that why not just make a Jaeger or something like that instead of a robot Godzilla? And the more they push that envelope and the more Godzilla-like they make him, the more I feel like the audience is going to be like, why would they go that specific?
Yeah. One thing I want to point out is like, part of the credits like. For King of the Monsters mentions like stuff about someone making organic titans. I thought what they were gonna do with Mechagodzilla this time is they were gonna take Dagon's bones, the other Godzilla, and make Mechagodzilla around that, and then put Ghidorah's brain in it.
I can kind of see why they didn't go that route. I mean, okay, I'm gonna say this, and I don't know if it makes sense or not. Did anybody else kind of get Tokyo SOS vibes from this movie, but replace Mothra with Kong?
Yeah, but this time they're teaming up against Mechagodzilla instead of the other way around.
And Mechagodzilla's not a good guy in this film in any realm, because I'm certain Apex was not just going to surrender Mechagodzilla if he did kill Godzilla and Kong.
Right. Even if Ghidorah did not take control.
Yeah.
If he would have won, like, I think the whole world would have just been ruined. Like, I don't think there's anything they could have done. Right. Unless the batteries went out, but I think whatever they did was, I don't know if they explained it, but whatever they did made it like, that wasn't a problem. And he's got, I don't know, maybe he's got 5G or something.
I do kind of like how they tried to kind of explain the science or whatever of Ghidorah. How like the heads were communicating telepathically or whatever. I was like, okay, that's something I've never really thought about.
So,
but can we get a rip in the chat? I mean, I know he already died in King of the Monsters, but I was kind of sad when I saw that Kevin was now a skeleton, little skull. I was like, no, not my sweet boy Kevin.
It's like, here's my question: why even keep the skull?
I think maybe, at least the way I interpret it, was part of Kevin's brain was still in the skull, part of Kevin's brain was in Mechagodzilla, and that's what allowed Rin to pilot him in the skull to control Mechagodzilla without actually being inside of Mechagodzilla.
You know what? Okay.
And maybe I'm way off and I read into that wrong.
I feel like, here's my canon. They wanted to remove it from the skull, put it in a nice, test tube so, it'll stay hydrated, it'll stay safe. But Rin's like, no. This is cooler, much cooler. I like this better. I like the aesthetic.
So speaking of Rin, wasted potential, guys. So disappointing. Dr. Serizawa's son, I don't know much about the actor, but I mean, he seemed decent enough.
They never even bring up his relationship with Serizawa in the film. Not
they
once.
just call him Serizawa one time.
Yeah. Does he even know his dad's dead?
Because I'm assuming that was supposed to be like his backstory was like, oh, I'm mad that my dad sacrificed himself for Godzilla, so I want to kill him. But they don't say that. That's just my headcanon.
Right.
Like, really? I mean, you're right. Does he know his dad's dead? I mean, maybe he thinks his dad's been on vacation for 5 years or something.
Here's my headcanon. He's not related to Serizawa. They just have the same last name. That's the only explanation I can think of. Otherwise, they shouldn't have even named him Serizawa. He should have been maybe a rival scientist. Maybe name him after Dr. What's his name from Mechagodzilla? Dr.
I bet you.
Bufone?
I bet you there's a deleted scene where he's mentioned something. Like, I feel like there are deleted scenes, and I bet they're all human scenes. Because, like, people were talking about, like, release the Wingard cut, like, joking around. But, like, if they did that, it would probably be just 20 more minutes of fleshing out the human characters that most people wouldn't really care about. I'd be interested to see it now. But
he said supposedly there's enough content for a 5-hour cut of it on his Twitter.
Wow.
Well, I don't want to see that.
It's like that's.
I don't want a 5-hour cut, but I mean, I think this film would have
Perfect
benefited
length.
from
Perfect length.
another 30.
Release the Wingard cut.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think the film was perfect length. I think it did what it did. The blistering fast pace. I know, Will, you didn't like the pacing. I thought the pacing was perfect for this type of movie. It didn't hold on to anything too long. It would be nice to get more on the human characters, but Wingard knew that no one really cared, which is kind of unfortunate because there was some potential with some of these characters, I think. But okay, Jaya,
No, it's just Jai.
great actress.
She's really the actress. Really is deaf, and I feel like that's what really sells her. Like the way she communicates, you really feel her bond with Kong.
Yeah. Speaking of, Kong had a great performance in this movie. I mean, he really made it feel like he was actually fighting Godzilla.
Yeah.
I know that Kong had to deal with a CGI Godzilla, pretend like he was fighting, but
Yeah. It's like
I was hoping y'all didn't think I was crazy for a second, like y'all weren't reacting.
No, it's fine. I was just thinking. Like one moment I really liked is just the beginning, Kong's routine, and just him just going about doing his thing.
Over the morning, that little song was playing.
No. I think we all know what song should have been playing at the beginning.
What?
Somebody once told me the
I actually thought of that. The fact that I didn't get what you were saying.
Okay, so you saw it in the theater, Chris. Did you see the trailer? And I don't know, my movie theaters do this thing where sometimes they'll show older movies. I kid you not, I got a trailer for Shrek. The very first Shrek film before this film. Because they're going to be they're showing Shrek in that theater.
Well, I've never been to a theater that does that. You know what? So, we're going to break the Godzilla vs. Kong topic, because I got to talk about the one trailer that I saw. Did not believe what I was seeing.
What?
There's a new Jigsaw movie.
Oh, Spiral.
And
I did not. That trailer was not in my theater. Maybe they replaced it with Shrek.
we're talking about a horror movie here, right? Jigsaw.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying I'm not a fan of the Saw films, but guess who? Okay, and Tyler, I know you know what's going on. I'm gonna pitch this to Will. I don't want you to say anything for a second, okay? I want to see Will's reaction on this. Okay, so guess who the main actor is?
Uh-oh.
Chris Rock. Chris Rock is the main character of Jigsaw.
Gosh.
Okay, it gets better. And by better, I mean a lot worse. So, his dad is in the movie. His dad is dead. From what I saw, there's you see his dad who was a dead police officer. Chris Rock's a detective. By the way, he's you hear him narrating in his same voice where he's doing comedy, and that's him saying we gotta find who's killing. It's so
Chris
stupid.
Rock is
and then you see this picture
of the film
of supposedly his dad, who's a police officer who's dead.
Now, I'm horrible with
Will Smith.
Who's Chris Rock? I recognize his name, and I think I can picture who he is.
Marty the Zebra.
Okay. Also, Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay. Okay, now I know what's going on. Okay.
I just don't
that
know
makes it
what's going
worse.
on here.
He's going to defeat the killer by doing the Afro Circus song.
Okay, hey. I think I cut out from y'all for a second.
Yeah, I just that was perfect. That gave me enough time to ask Tyler who Chris Rock was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's the zebra from.
That's exactly what he said.
So, yeah, he does comedy routines. Okay, what was the last thing you heard me say?
His dad's a dead police officer or something like that.
His dad's a dead police officer. Can you guess who his dad is?
Well, the actor plays him. Guess him.
Yeah.
It's not Eddie Murphy, is it?
It's Will Smith.
No, it's not.
Oh.
No, it's not. Samuel L. Jackson.
No. Samuel L. Jackson's in the movie. Chris Rock's dead dad is Will Smith.
I thought it was Jackson.
No. Samuel L. Jackson's alive. You spoiled that. I told you to not talk, Tyler. So, yeah, we have a movie where Chris Rock's the main character with his dead dad being Will Smith, and Chris Rock's the detective, and he's looking for, you hear him in his comedy routine voice yelling out, looking for, like in the same voice that freaking Marty the zebra talks, looking for Saw. And then you see he turns around the corner and Samuel L. Jackson's there, and he's like, listen, Saw's coming, blah, blah, blah. Or like, the detective, blah, blah, blah. It's like, is this real? This is like a Saturday Night Live skit. Like, what is going on here? This is a real movie. Yeah, so, with all due respect, it was like they grabbed every famous black actor they could. Like, I was surprised Idris Elba wasn't in it or something like that. And they're like, okay, y'all guys are in a Saw movie. And, that wouldn't be a problem, except for Chris Rock is a comedy actor. It just doesn't really make sense to me. I was confused.
Maybe he's trying to break genre?
Yeah, maybe he is, but, listen, I don't know if I can take that seriously. I'm sorry. So, in the end, it is the only Saw movie I've ever wanted to watch. I want to see how this goes.
I mean, you should at least see the first one. No, I'm telling you, the first one has one of my favorite twisted ending horror film.
Okay, I mean, I might check it out, but what I've seen of the Saw movies have not been, have been far from compelling.
Yeah, it's mostly the later films that.
Yeah, but I'm a lot more interested in this film than any of those, just because I know that I want to see this train wreck go down. And so yeah, that's the movie I saw. So when you said when Will, you texted me and said, "Hey, let me know what the movies you see or what trailers you see." That's what I saw immediately, and I was like, "There's no way I can explain this to him on text." I needed to give you which, oh my gosh, like I said, I want to see it because I want to see how this goes down. But yeah, so that's the movie I saw. Or that's the trailer.
I saw the trailer for a horror movie with the chick who plays the Kong Whisperer lady, the older monarch lady in Godzilla vs. Kong, and it looked horrible.
You mean Mary? Was it?
Was that what it was called?
There's one called Mary where it's like they're saying it's like the Catholic Saint of Mary, but then I guess it's like some demon pretending to be her, and it's like
this one was like her husband died, and she kept seeing like these bloody footprints appear in front of her, and then like 18 times in the trailer they did that. Like it felt like a 5-year-old who just discovered a video editing tool edited this trailer, because it's like where you mirror an image so that way, like, ooh, now she's looking left and right at the same time, and they used that effect like 18 times in the trailer, and I was like, come on, this looks
like he's using an iPad, and he's using an iPad and has those filters when they first came out.
That's what it felt like.
So,
and then, so if we're on the topic of trailers, we can kind of bring it back to Kaiju real briefly, I think we both saw the Suicide Squad trailer.
Suicide Squad trailer looked very, very interesting.
I'm just gonna watch it for King Shark.
King Shark. He says hand. Yes, that's your hand.
I still can't get over the fact that it's Sylvester Stallone voicing King Shark.
Have either of you seen Harley Quinn the TV show?
Yes, I have it. I love it.
It's like, have you, Christian?
They say bad words in that movie.
Well, King Shark appears in that, and he works at IT.
What?
Yeah, he's definitely a smarter King Shark than the one we're getting in Suicide Squad.
Well, you know what? I'm boycotting Harley Quinn show because I want to watch dumb King Shark. Just kidding. I've seen clips from the show you're talking about. It's the one where like they actually get into like suggestive themes and stuff like that, and
yeah,
just kind of let loose. Yeah, no, Suicide Squad looks good. I like James Gunn. I like the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not a fan of DC IPs, but John Cena, Sylvester Stallone, and Kaiju, along with James Gunn directing it. Okay, you got me.
To be honest, I prefer, like, lore-wise and character-wise, I prefer DC over Marvel.
You're wrong. Take that back. Don't say that.
So the way I pitched the Suicide Squad trailer to my parents was, I was like, okay, this is the Deadpool version of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Pretty much.
Though I was not expecting the main star of Warning from Space to make an appearance. I don't know if you guys have seen Warning from Space.
I've seen clips of it. But for real, that villain Starro is actually a pretty big deal. He was the first villain the Justice League as a group ever fought in the comics, and if they don't stop him, he can control the minds of every living human on Earth.
Wow.
Like, his psychic powers are so powerful, it makes Professor X look like a wimp.
Oh, sorry guys, my something shook my house. My Kong NECA figure just tumbled straight onto the floor.
His head pop off?
No, he's fine, but
Really? The head falls off mine all the time. I could sneeze right now and the head would fly 15 feet across my room.
I have other figures like that, but the Kong one's like really sturdy. Like honestly, he's so sturdy, like the joints barely move. Like it's not good per se, but yeah, I'd say now it's up to y'all. Let's say like we bring it back. Okay, just remember we're working with a hour 30 first half of this podcast. We're almost at an hour here. I would say let's bring it back and kind of wrap up our thoughts on Godzilla versus Kong. Because I don't want to edit a 3-hour podcast.
What did we? How did we feel about Nozuki Warbat? They had a very, very brief appearance in the film, but
They were pretty cool.
what do we think?
I liked it a lot. Wish we got.
I like their designs. I love how Kong just straight up kills the first one immediately. Just boom!
Like head
Slams it on the ground and it is dead.
like the skull gets pierced by a freaking rock, and when he does the other one is so overkill though.
I like how he casually eats the guts and just keeps going.
Yeah. What is up with the MonsterVerse and decapitation?
No, it's MonsterVerse and gore in general, because like I noticed every monster in like every main monster in each movie gets a brutal, like Mortal Kombat-esque death. Buto gets a death. The Skullcrawler gets disemboweled. Ghidorah head gets launched like a rocket. Ghidorah gets his head and spine ripped out like Sub-Zero. Like like I'm gonna be afraid to what happens to Gigan if he appears in the MonsterVerse.
Yeah, Skull Island is the only film that does not feature a kaiju decapitation.
If Gigan appears in the MonsterVerse, he will win. I'm calling it right here.
I'd imagine they'd rip out his own buzzsaw and just shove it into his eye.
They just slowly scalp his skin off piece by piece with a butter knife. I don't know. I have no idea. I honestly never thought the kills were that brutal. I mean, for monsters, it kind of was expected for me. Now, I get the Kong one. Kong ripping out the guts of the Skullcrawler is pretty brutal, but
From the
like,
mouth too. It's like something of a Lucio Fulci
I mean,
film.
Kong fighting the Warbats is kind of how I'd expect him to win. He just crushes them.
Yeah.
And then, like, he does rip the head off of it, but I think it's just because he needed a snack. You know, he eats a little bit of it and keeps going, which, it was cool to see.
It comes out of nowhere, though. It's like, with the octopus, I'm like, alright, he knows all the animals on this island, so, you thought,
Listen, man, sometimes you're hungry, sometimes there's someone in your way, and you just, you beat the crap out of him and you eat him.
alright, remind me
Strong
not to
survive.
You're right, you're right, you're right.
It's like what Senator Armstrong said, the strong will survive, blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
You're right.
Something like
Pray
that.
we don't meet in person. Just kidding. I'm too big of a wuss to attack anyone.
You mad?
It's weird.
You have a bad take on Godzilla? Crush.
It's weird. I love very violent stuff, but in real life, I'm a pacifist.
You know.
It's so weird.
Yeah, Chris, with our differing opinion on Godzilla vs. Kong, I might have to cancel any sort of G-Fest plans meeting up, because you would snap me like a twig.
Hey,
Just like,
hey, we'll tag team him.
I don't even know if that would work.
I don't even know what to say.
Don't worry, you get him a headlock and I'll bite his Achilles tendons off.
He would pick me up and use me like Kong uses the axe. He'd just grab me by the legs and swing me around.
It'd be like when Mechagodzilla shoots the missiles to knock Godzilla off, and then he power bombs Kong at the end of the movie. Speaking of that was really cool. That was this one moment in that fight where I was like, okay, that was perfect.
So
yeah, but go ahead.
So overall, the film is fun. And in these times, sometimes it's just all you need, something to have fun and get hyped up over.
Yep, just something to piss off the Snyder fans.
Well, no, something to just get your mind off everything going on in the world. Just
Okay,
back.
but is it not a good side effect that the Snyder fans are like, oh no, like they tried to review bomb it and everything, and then it still is the best grossing film since the pandemic started.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I don't want to be a jerk, but
Too late.
Yeah.
Never mind. I'm talking about myself.
I've been playing the heel since this podcast began, so I'm gonna keep that up.
So let's do this. We'll go around in a circle.
What?
Give what you thought Godzilla vs. Kong did best for you, and then give your most controversial opinion on the movie.
All right. Since
We want to draw straws, or
start with we'll go reverse alphabetical order, so I can end it on a banger. So that would be Will. Would that be? Yeah, that's how
Will.
alphabet works.
Yeah.
Which goes first?
Okay, I'll start off on the controversial thing, so that way I can end my thoughts on a positive. This is going to be really controversial. You know how people say that Godzilla Planet of the Monsters, all of the interesting stuff happened before the film took place?
Yeah.
I kind of want to say that for Godzilla vs. Kong.
You're not
and before
wrong.
you burn me at the stake,
You're not wrong.
let me explain. Monarch building a facility on Skull Island. That would have awoken every skull crawler in existence.
They did not build a facility on Skull Island.
Actually, there's
Yeah, they did. The where Kong was being kept, that was on Skull Island. They just had him enclosed to protect him from Godzilla.
and the storm.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's a different location because they said maybe I'm wrong, but I was pretty sure that was a different location entirely, which is why Kong realizes it's not its home. That's actually a moment that now I think about it, I very much enjoyed, where he throws the spears through the wall, and then that wail of agony when he realizes it's fate. Either way, maybe you might be right, but either way, I'll have to look into that just to double check.
So
that
if
would make
they
sense.
did actually build a facility on Skull Island, that would have been kind of cool to see. How in the world did Apex get a hold of Skullcrawler eggs? What happened to Monarch? Did they get defunded?
Oh no, they're still around. I mean,
Yeah, I know they're still around. They just don't
saw-
do anything in this movie.
Yeah, Kyle Chandler was kind of underutilized, and he was the only connection to Monarch that was in the movie.
Yeah, Kyle Chandler got to run around and go, Godzilla! And that was his entire character for the film.
I love
character
the opening.
stare
It's just
off
like-
screen and look at terrible thing happening and don't say anything.
don't do anything. Don't be proactive.
Madison's like, listen, Godzilla, there's something we're not seeing here. And he says, you should be in school.
Yeah. So he loses Andrew in 2014. He loses Emma in King of the Monsters, and he's like, Madison, no. Madison.
Please don't get involved.
No, it sounded so silly because it was just like, we're talking about the end of the world here, and obviously she knows what she's talking about, and he's just like, you should be doing your math homework. What's going on? and then the next line, he's like, Godzilla's hurting people. We don't know why. And she's like, and I'm just like, well, she kind of just told you, but whatever, okay. But yeah, and then you don't see him again until basically he calls her at some point for like 2 minutes, and then 2 seconds, and then at the end of the movie they hug. And I mean, that's all sweet. I like the little part where Barney's like, Barney's like,
can you come on my podcast?
Yeah, he's got that guy. We need to do a crossover with Barney's podcast.
Yeah, Titan Truth. The ending almost the fake out ending almost kind of felt like a throwback to the ending of 2014. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I definitely got the same vibe of Brody going to the stadium and reuniting with Ellie, and then Godzilla walks off. But instead of Godzilla immediately leaving, this time, you hear Godzilla's roar and you're like, are we getting another round?
Yeah, I think I'm 90% sure that the Godzilla going into the water was how this film ended, and then the other part was the end credit scene, because Wingard confirmed that he cut the end credit scene, but he put it back in the movie. So I'm pretty sure that he just did that, so it wasn't an abrupt ending. And they also, in an interview, he said he doesn't want to make it seem like there's for sure another movie. He wanted to wait to see if the audience asked for one or not.
Considering how it's doing right now, it just passed the 200 million mark worldwide, so yeah, there's a chance.
I think we're getting another one. I'm pretty sure.
I definitely hope so.
Yeah.
All right.
I can't interrupt them. Do you have any final thoughts, Will?
So that was my little controversial thing. Positive. The action, the monster scenes, and this needs to be the new staple moving forward with the MonsterVerse.
Agreed.
There was not a single scene in this film to where you could not make out what was going on because of some bullshit smoke, or fog, or ice, or debris, or ash, or anything. And I get that was an artistic decision made in the other films. We have the other films that we can go back on and keep watching those. But for the future, give me the long fights that aren't interrupted, like this movie did. Give me the beautiful visuals. Give me the daytime. And if you're going to do nighttime, take Hong Kong as a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
The Hong Kong battle might be the best. Well, actually, it seems like Hong Kong is the place to do a night battle, because both the Godzilla vs. Kong battle and then the Gypsy Danger versus Otachi are two of the most stunning fights in recent years.
Oh, definitely.
Yep.
But yeah, that about wraps up my thoughts for now.
Alright, for me, I say this movie has the strongest human cast, even though that some of them were very underdeveloped, and the kaiju fights were spectacular. Half the time I was going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, Oh crap, we're demonetized now. I'm sorry when I screw this channel.
Oh no. You can just pay me out of pocket.
Okay, this is my controversial opinion. I was kind of underwhelmed with the Hollow Earth.
Wow, okay.
It's with me, it felt like a huge missed opportunity. I was expecting, maybe something to the Jackson Skull Island. There's this vast ecosystem of creatures that, we could see more different monsters, but instead we'd only get, a handful that are pretty outside the Warbat, they're all pretty small, nuisances. I was expecting get a more of a feel of this primordial, untamed world with ancient ruins. Have it be something to set up. Maybe there could be a miniseries set in the Hollow Earth itself. It's some of the stuff. It was interesting, the parallel land on top like above the.
Mhm.
But it's like some of the stuff felt out of place, like the anti-gravity stuff. I don't know. It's like I felt like they could have done so much more with it. Like, I felt like it was a missed opportunity. Like, I don't hate it. I just feel like there's so much more untapped potential in there.
Speaking of the Hollow Earth, real quick, why did Kong not dual wield the axes? There were like 5 of them.
I missed that.
Yeah, so I only noticed it the second time, but when he sets the axe down and it lights up, it pans over and it starts lighting up like other axes. So I think there's 4 or 5 other axes in that scene that start to light up. So I was like, Kong should have taken 2 of those.
You can't pound your chest when you don't have 2 axes. How would
He should have made it.
Yeah, I suppose.
He should
It's
have made.
obvious.
He should have made a makeshift belt to hold all the axes like they're hatchets,
No.
so we could throw them and.
Oh wow.
The gods.
Oh, here we go. Gamera reference, okay? So, hear me out. They take the helicopters again, they put it around his chest. He grabs 4 axes, 1 in each hand, and then 2 on his feet, and they start spinning them around like Gamera, and just flying them around the city.
Actually, like, that would have been a great idea. Like, maybe there could have been, like, a big, like, mural but painted by Kong's, ancestors, like, cave paintings, and shows, like, different monsters, maybe a couple of cameos for other Toho kaiju.
Were we supposed to assume that the Kongs built those, or are we supposed to assume that another ancient civilization built that, like the civilization that built Godzilla's home?
I feel like it was supposed to be the Kongs, because,
I like that idea.
like, they're hominids. They're not purely apes, they're hominids. You know, something
And
like...
especially, I think Kong basically has human intelligence, so I think that it's not unreasonable to think that.
Right. All I can say is, if the MonsterVerse does continue, I feel like wherever they go, it's gonna keep going wild, keep getting more imaginative, and I'm very much looking forward to
Party is
it.
getting crazy. Yep.
I would say now that the cat's out of the bag, go full out crazy. Like the kind of crazy Bryan Cranston was talking about in the first movie. Go for it.
Send us back to the Stone Age.
Okay, so
Oh, wait a minute. I just noticed one thing, sorry to interrupt, but you know that hole in in Hong Kong to the Hollow Earth? It never really got patched up. What if that was a plot point? Like, the species from the Hollow Earth, like, they're coming out, and they're just spreading across the old world.
okay, so next podcast we're gonna do a podcast special. It's gonna be a video podcast. We're gonna take a trip to Hong Kong and we're gonna jump down the hole.
That could even create a potential for another. I don't know if they would ever do another Godzilla vs. Kong in the MonsterVerse, but a future battle between Godzilla vs. Kong could be sparked from Kong ain't doing his job. He's letting the Hollow Earth people come up to the surface, and now Godzilla is not only having to keep control of his own titans up on the surface, now he's having to deal with all the dudes from the Hollow Earth.
I guess that's interesting, but I feel like how Godzilla and Kong are. I feel like Godzilla wouldn't think to blame that on Kong. I feel like Godzilla,
and I don't know if it would be a full-out brawl, but I mean...
Yeah, I feel like Godzilla, from what we've seen in this movie, he kind of almost takes enjoyment in his role of, being the king, while Kong doesn't want to do that and only protects his homeland, and that's why Kong, King Ghidorah was attacking. Kong wasn't trying to do anything about that.
Kong is pretty much Shrek in the MonsterVerse. He doesn't want to be king. He just wants to be left alone, and just.
So, do we know when this facility was built?
Within the last 5 years.
Oh, okay. Because see, I know in the novelization they go into the details that Kong ignored the Alpha Call and was helping fend off the Skullcrawlers or whatever. But if the facility was built before King of the Monsters, then maybe that's why Kong didn't respond. He literally couldn't escape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Kong probably just purposely didn't worry about it. I think
That's what I like to think. I mean, they mentioned that he is an alpha, so...
Right.
Yeah, I think Kong is the alpha of his territory, but I think it's like, he's the king of Skull Island. Godzilla's the king of the world. And essentially, like, Kong challenges that because they were alpha and rival species, but especially how it all settled down. Now Kong, is king of the Hollow Earth, but,
You could maybe even say that Godzilla is a king of the monsters.
Maybe. I mean, yeah. You could say there's a little of Godzilla in all of us. Okay, so things I liked, basically everything I said. Monster action, the human characters were mostly likable at the very least. Funny. The comedy was decent. There was a lot of action, like I said. Honestly, the most controversial take I can think of is that really there wasn't, like, I watched this movie and, like, I'm talking about these things that I think I didn't like, but really none of them bothered me while watching the movie. I really can't think of... My controversial take is that in a strange way, this movie almost is flawless to me as a piece of entertainment. I watch it and nothing really sticks out to me or bothers me.
Wow, that really is controversial.
Yeah, I mean, I would think... I don't know if that's quite... I think some people, who are like to shut their brains off at movies would agree. Usually I'm not that type of person. And like Will pointed out, my favorite MonsterVerse movie before this was Godzilla 2014. And I will stand to the end that Godzilla 2014 is still the best written MonsterVerse movie. However, this one, just the entertainment factor was so immense that it overrided that. So, really, plus also, listen, they gave us a monkey flip. Y'all notice that?
Yeah.
He flipped when Kong jumps from the two sides of the Hollow Earth. He flips this monkey flip. So.
Oh, you said monkey flip. I thought you said monkey butt.
No, monkey flip, like the
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I needed in the movie. Yeah, but no, I don't really have much to say. Godzilla vs. Kong. Y'all, if you're watched this far, hopefully you've watched it. So I'm not going to tell you to go watch it. But I mean, if you have HBO Max, you can watch it again. If not, this is go get. You want to go buy another ticket to it to support the movie, so we get more. That would be nice. Honestly, I really feel like I probably might watch it in theaters again. But yeah, and with that, I'm gonna go ahead and call a stop to this, end this madness. We're in an hour.
I give it a 0 out of 10 for no talking Minya.
Yes. I saw a meme. It showed the Rotten Tomatoes page, and it had 0% on audience and critic score, and it had one review, and it said Kong doesn't throw his poop.
I give this a 0 out of 10 out of the pretense that Mr. Taco does not appear in this movie at all.
No.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Eye-opening.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. How could they not bring back Mr. Taco? Yeah, but I give this a. And we'll see you next time on the BroZilla podcast, where we potentially. The dotted line has not been signed, but we might have a special guest, and if he comes, then he will be, it'll be an interview for the ages, because this man is a legend in the Godzilla community, especially in the Godzilla vs. Kong news community, and I cannot wait to potentially have him on.
That's right, we got Roland Emmerich. He's going to be on the next episode of the podcast.
Yep,
I'm super excited. He made one of the best Godzilla films, and I can't wait to see how he is going to lead the future of the MonsterVerse, since he's going to reprise his role as director.
Wait, what? I thought we were gonna get that guy who played the pimp in Final Wars.
No, he's the main character of the next Roland Emmerich Godzilla.
Lovely.
Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on the BroZilla podcast.
And scene.
Next time on the BroZilla podcast, we try to feign professionalism as we host our first guest. Stay tuned to find out who it is.
Welcome back to another BroZilla After Dark segment, guys. Wow, that sure was a long episode. I still can't believe Godzilla vs. Kong actually came out. I just want to remind everyone that this is the last episode of the podcast that will be released on my YouTube channel. For future episodes on